Chapter 208. The sky gradually brightened, and a few stars could be seen in the pale blue sky. The surface of the lake was covered with a layer of fog, hazy as if it was covered with a silver veil. The morning glow dyed the clouds in the sky, as if it was soaked in blood, showing a faint red color. The 5 warships were moving at a steady speed. About half an hour ago, the 5 ships entered the special water area. There was really no wind at all. If the warships were not equipped with wind-gathering sails, they would not be able to move at all. Meng Ying was holding a can of food in her hands. She yawned lazily and went to the deck to get some fresh air. She took a deep breath of the cold air. Through the thin fog, she could vaguely see the outline of the island in front of her. "Wow! There are so many ships!" Meng Ying exclaimed. A large number of old ships were anchored on the calm lake. Some were merchant ships, some were civilian ships, and some were military ships. They were of different sizes and shapes. Some of them were quite old. Even the ironwood hulls had begun to rot. It was estimated that they had been abandoned for hundreds of years. How did these ships come here? They were probably blown here by a storm, or they might have mistakenly entered this place, or they might have been captured by bandits. In short, ordinary large ships couldn't sail out of the windless area. In the end, all of them were rotting in the water. However, the number was too much. Just from what she could see, there were more than 100 ships. How many abandoned ships were there in this area? From the front, the sound of a horn could be heard. Meng Ying rubbed her eyes hard, widening her eyes to take a look. When her line of sight passed through the thin fog, she saw 7 or 8 huge black warships neatly lined up in a row, slowly surrounding the warship. These black ships seemed to have a special power device. So they could move normally in the windless area like the warships. Ding! The warship's alarm was sounded. "There's a situation." The soldiers rushed out of the cabin. One by one, the cavalry crossbows were arranged in a row. Giant crossbow carts were pushed out. They were ready for battle. As the most advanced warship in southern Xia, the equipment on the warship is certainly not bad. In addition to the ballistae displayed on the deck, there were shooting windows on both sides of the hull. Each ship was equipped with more than 60 heavy-duty ballistae, and the heavy-duty ballistae used were 2 meters long. The bodies of the ballistae were made of high-energy crystals, and their range could reach more than 2,000 meters. This kind of fake arrow was very expensive. Instead of relying on its powerful penetrative power to kill the enemy, it directly activated the energy crystal and destroyed the enemy with a terrifying explosion. An ordinary medium-sized ship could be sunk with just 1 or 2 arrows. How dare you! It's been many years since anyone dared to barge into the lake god's territory. Since you dare come in, then have a taste of our giant shark gang's strength. Chu Tian sensed that something was amiss outside, so out of curiosity, he walked to the deck to take a look. Nangong Yun and Meng Ying were both surprised and happy. "Chu Tian, you came at the right time. We've encountered pirates." "Pirates?" Chu Tian looked at the 10 giant black ships in front of him. "This scale is too big. There are 2,000–3,000 pirates here." This Marquis never thought. Shen Fengho's terrifying spirit energy began to gather in his body as he calmly said, "My southern summer country actually has this kind of power." Shen Fengho's voice was not loud, but it reached the other side's ears. The giant shark gang had sent out 10 ships. Although they were not as big as the warships, the decks were filled with people, adding up to 2,000–3,000 people. These people were all wearing strange clothes, looking fierce and barbaric, just like uncivilized barbarians. "Go. Their ships are not bad. We'll treat it as offering it to the lake god. Everyone go, don't damage the ships." A horn sounded from the pirate ships. Several hundred pirates with weapons on their backs and hooks in their hands jumped onto the deck like dumplings. Everyone was stunned. Why did they jump into the water? Each one of them was wearing such heavy equipment. A scene that made everyone dumbfounded occurred. The pirates did not sink into the water, rather their feet stepped on the surface of the lake. The calm surface of the lake was suddenly filled with waves. They stepped on the blue waves like they were surfing, quickly surrounding the warships. This is a bit interesting. They really are cultivating a strange cultivation technique. Chu Tian knew that the pirates could step on the waves because of a certain cultivation technique. This giant shark gang really did have a good inheritance. The pirates aggressively stepped on the waves as they tried to hook onto the warships. In the end, the pirates did not even have time to approach before the 5 warships released a rain of arrows. "I've been hit. Quickly protect me." What the pirates encountered was Central State City's most elite army. How were they like the motley crew that they normally plundered? They were instantly shot down. Damn. For the lake god. For the giant shark gang. The pirates roared out, and quite a few of them released their source spirits. Their source spirits were all in the shape of giant sharks, increasing their speed by several times. They blocked the arrows and quickly charged forward. These pirates' cultivations were not weak. This was because the ones who could release their source spirits were all in the peak 9th awakened soul layer. These pirates all had 60 to 70% awakened soul realm cultivation, and there was one expert in the peak 9th awakened soul layer in every 10 of them. At this moment, a surge of elemental energy as vast as the sea erupted. Shen Fengho suddenly jumped into the air from the deck. With several leaps, he traveled several thousand meters in the blink of an eye. The sharp sound of breaking through the air seemed like it could tear space itself apart. Wherever Shen Fengho flew, even the mirror-like water was quickly split apart. The pirates all lost their balance and fell into the water. Shen Fengho's arms slashed through the air, and an incomparably large blue wind blade flew out from his hands. Like a boomerang, it cut out a trajectory. Pa-pa. 10 crisp cracking sounds rang out. The masts of the pirate ships were cut off one by one. At this time, Shen Fengho's power filled the sky, and the surrounding lake water seemed like it was being sucked in by a blue dragon. Giant tornadoes that were 30-40 meters wide and over 100 meters tall instantly formed. The thick masts smashed onto the deck, and the pirates were smashed to the ground. Before they could even react, the pirate ship was blown away by the strong wind that came with it, causing it to sway left and right. "This is bad. Quickly retreat. Quickly retreat." The Divine Wind Marquis speed was just too fast. He first cut off the masts of the 10 ships and then instantly condensed a giant tornado with boundless destructive might. "The storm is coming. Quickly, abandon the ship and jump into the water." The mighty tornado hit the first ship, and the terrifying strength flipped it over. It then hit the second ship and flipped over without any accidents. The third ship, the fourth ship, the 10th ship. An entire 10 ships were flipped over in just a few seconds. Countless people cried out pitifully as they were thrown into the sky, falling into the water like rain. There was no wind on the surface of the lake. The waves surged and the scene was a complete mess. Meng Yingying was stunned. Those ships are at least several dozen tons in weight, and the Marquis has flipped them all over in an instant. What kind of strength is this? The other generals were also astonished. Even a strong illustrious soul realm expert would only be able to create a large hole with a full force attack. However, Shen Fengho had used his own strength to flip over 10 ships that weighed several dozen tons. What kind of strength was this? This god was indeed the #1 person in Central State. That terrifying storm was still raging. Even if they were this far away, Chu Tian's group could still feel the surging waves. Finally, wherever the blue storm passed, all the ships were dismembered. They were broken into countless pieces, and the pirates were forced to flee. Meng Yingying said, "It seems like these fellows are going to drown." Chu Tian gave a slight nod, but before he could say anything, he suddenly noticed a strange phenomenon. Several ships had been torn to pieces, and countless pieces of wood were still floating on the water. Logically speaking, a person in the water would instinctively look for something to float on, especially in this kind of turbulent environment. Chu Tian was very surprised. The pirates did not grab onto anything to survive, rather they all jumped into the water. The people on the ships also threw away their weapons and jumped into the water. The pirates that fell into the water all disappeared without a trace. There were several thousand people. They had all jumped into the water and disappeared. The blood that flowed out from the dead pirates was actually a blue-purple color, completely different from normal people's blood. Shen Fengho also noticed this strange phenomenon, so he gradually stopped the storm. However, before he could take a closer look, a terrifying roar came from the front. Which expert dares to mess with my giant shark gang's territory? Aren't you afraid of angering the lake gods? A sound wave rolled out. It was deep and resonant, almost covering the sound of the waves. Chen Bingyu was not interested, but she opened her eyes at this moment and a trace of confusion flashed in her eyes. There is a true soul expert among these pirates. It can't be. Everyone else was shocked. There were only a few true soul experts in Central State. If they really were true soul experts, why would they be willing to be pirates? No matter where they went in southern Xia, they would be respected by tens of thousands of people. A strong man stepped on the waves, carrying a trident on his back. His hair was thick and messy, his face was covered in a beard, and his chest was open. It was covered in blue tattoos and he was dressed like a barbarian. Fifth Master. Fifth Master is here to save us. The moment the true soul expert arrived, the pirates that had disappeared began to pop their heads out of the water. These fellows had not drowned, but they were all hiding in the water. Nangong Yun revealed a look of shock. I thought they had all drowned. I never thought that they would still be alive. But why haven't they come out to breathe for so long? Feng Kaidai also knit her brows. Could it be that the giant shark gang cultivates the turtle breathing technique? That's why they haven't breathed for a long time. It's not their cultivation technique, it's the pirates themselves that have a problem. Chu Tian finally saw some clues and his lips curled into a smile. No wonder they could be so arrogant in the Four States Lake for so many years without being exterminated. It seems like things have become interesting now. Nangong, help me prepare some things. I need to verify a few things. If it's like I think, then these fellows are very valuable. Chapter 209. Wherever the large bearded man went, the waves would surge. If one looked carefully, they would find that the large bearded man was standing on a giant shark. The shark was completely made of water energy, so it was extremely fast in the water. The 10 large ships were already scrapped and over 1,000 members fell into the water, with heavy casualties. The large bearded man had a dark expression as he looked up. There was an elegant green-robed middle-aged man standing on a small tornado. His long sleeves fluttered in the wind as he floated in the air. He was like a powerful god, but he could not see through his strength at all. Although he didn't know who he was, he knew that he was not a normal person. Your Excellency has trespassed into the lake god's forbidden area and injured many of our disciples. The large bearded man coldly said, Are you not planning on giving the giant shark gang an explanation? Explanation? Shin Fengho gave a calm smile. Wind surged in all directions and the might of the heavens shook everyone. The Four States Lake is under the control of the Southern Summer King, so this marquis has nothing to say about you establishing a gang here. However, you've been plundering merchant caravans all year round, even going ashore to kill and pillage. Do you really think there is no one left in Southern Summer? You are one of the Southern Summer 8 marquises. To be able to control the wind, you must be Central State's Shen Fengho. The large bearded man was completely stunned. Shen Fengho was a famous character in Southern Summer. The large bearded man did not have any intent to fight. The giant shark in the water suddenly turned around, creating a giant wave as it quickly escaped. Fifth Master. The giant shark gang members were all stunned. The Fifth Master's divine skills were unrivaled, but he was running without even fighting? Since you're here, then stay and drink a cup of tea with this marquis. Shen Fengho instantly caught up and stood in front of the large bearded man. His right hand turned into a giant blue hand that reached out to grab the large bearded man. I'll stake it all with you. The large bearded man pulled out his trident and released the power of his source spirit, but he did not have time to attack. Shen Fengho broke the trident with a single palm from afar and the violent force sent the large bearded man flying several dozen meters, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blue and purple blood. Shen Fengho stood with his hands behind his back, as if he was at ease. Seventh awakened soul layer, but you've only just reached the true soul realm? How dare you look down on me? The large bearded man gave an angry roar and released his source spirit, which was a giant silver shark. The large bearded man's hands moved and the giant silver shark source spirit entered the lake, pouring all of the large bearded man's spirit energy into the lake. The surrounding waters began to boil. Several hundred sharks broke out of the water. Each one was 3-4 meters long and their bodies were made of water energy. They were like tens of thousands of arrows flying in the air like they had wings. Each one was filled with a fierce strength that could swallow an awakened soul cultivator with a single bite. I'll show you the power that the lake god has bestowed upon us. Countless sharks ferociously pounced towards Shen Fenghe. Shen Fenghe revealed a look of surprise. He had not expected this big bearded man to be stronger than he had imagined. With just this move, a normal true soul realm expert would not be able to block it. But dealing with an expert on the level of one of the Southern Summer 8 Marquises? The difference was too great. Wind and cloud sword song. Countless sword chi wind blades appeared around Shen Fenghe, falling down like a storm. Each giant shark was hit 2-3 times and instantly exploded, turning into water droplets. It's not over yet. The large bearded man angrily roared, "Lake God, give me strength." The countless droplets of water stopped in the air and condensed into a giant shark. This giant shark was made of energy, but it was like a living being. That thick silver-white skin had lines that could be seen as it angrily charged at Shen Fenghe. Shen Fenghe flicked his finger. A giant sword chi swept out. The giant shark with a terrifying momentum was cut in half and the large bearded man was hit by the shockwave. He bounced off the water like he was skipping, instantly flying several dozen meters away. So strong. Truly worthy of being one of the Southern Summer 8 Marquises. The giant shark gang will remember this grudge. Just wait for me. The large bearded man wanted to dive into the water, trying to escape through the lake. How could it be that easy? Shen Fenghe threw a small tornado into the lake and the entire lake was stirred up, forming a giant whirlpool. Several dozen meters of the lake was sucked into the air, including the large bearded man's figure. Shen Fenghe grabbed out and the large bearded man was sucked out. Finally he was choked by Shen Fenghe. "Let me go." The large bearded man was a true soul realm expert, but in Shen Fenghe's hands he was like a helpless little chicken. Shen Fenghe pointed at the large bearded man a few times, using his spirit energy to seal the large bearded man's cultivation. This person's cultivation and strength were not weak, so he was definitely a top-level leader. Capturing him alive was more useful. "The 5th master has been captured. This is bad, quickly tell the other masters." The pirates all cried out in alarm. They all jumped into the lake and disappeared in a short while. Shen Fenghe had no interest in these small fries. He flew into the air and returned to the ship, throwing the large bearded man onto the deck. The others were all deeply shocked. Everyone already knew that Shen Fenghe's cultivation was very high and his strength was very strong, but they never thought he would be this terrifying. This battle had opened everyone's eyes. The large bearded man revealed a look of fear. "If you dare harm a single hair on me, the giant shark gang will not let you off. Are the Southern Summer 8 Marquises that amazing? If you disturb Big Brother and Second Brother, you won't be able to bear the consequences." The large bearded man was a true soul realm expert, but he had just reached the 7th awakened soul layer. So not to mention comparing him to Shen Fenghe, he was even weaker than Qin Bingyu. But from his words, could it be that there was someone stronger than him in the giant shark gang? Nangong Yun couldn't help asking, "Then what do you mean Big Brother and Second Brother are stronger than you?" Nonsense. The large bearded man seemed very confident. "Of the 100,000 members of the giant shark gang, I am only ranked 5th. Big Brother, Second Brother, Third Brother, and Fourth Brother are all above me. You've invaded the lake god's forbidden area and injured the lake god's servant. Once the lake god becomes angry, you can only wait to die." 100,000 members. There were at least 5 true soul realm experts. Nangong Yun and the others were all stunned. Shen Fenghe knit his brows and his eyes revealed a bit of displeasure. This fellow was still this arrogant after being captured? He probably wouldn't cooperate with the interrogation, so he might as well kill him with a single palm. But thinking about it, what if this fellow wasn't lying? If the giant shark gang really had 100,000 members and at least 5 true soul realm experts, it would be an incomparably large sect. Shen Fengho was not afraid of them. The problem was that he had a mission to complete and did not have time to waste here. If there was a conflict with the giant shark gang, it would not be easy to escape from these annoying fellows. Several explosions came from the bottom of the warships. Several soldiers shouted in panic, "Marty, this is bad. The bottom of the ship has been broken. Our ship is about to sink." What? This warship was the fastest and most advanced in southern Xia. If the bottom of the ship was broken and the warship sank, the consequences would be unimaginable. Not to mention how the 1,000 soldiers would escape. Central State would fail the ruler's orders, which was a very serious matter. There are many monsters in front of us. Everyone looked into the distance and saw several incomparably large tortoises slowly swimming across the lake. Each tortoise had over 100 people on its back, and there were even large crossbows prepared. A thin middle-aged man held a saber and angrily shouted, "Let go of fifth brother. Otherwise you'll all be buried in the stomachs of the fish." The surrounding water began to flow faster. "Let go of the fifth master. Let go of the fifth master." Several thousand giant shark gang members revealed their heads and raised their weapons as they shouted, "Let them taste the anger of the lake god." "It's over, it's over." Meng Yingying's face turned white. "Why are there so many pirates? We've poked the hornet's nest." "Ha!" The large bearded man began to laugh. "This is the result of offending the lake god. Seeking death." Shen Fengho's eyes flashed with a cold killing intent. No one had ever dared to threaten him like this before. Since it was like this, he would kill one to warn 100. "Marquis, please wait." Chu Tian walked in front of Shen Fengho and stopped Shen Fengho from killing the fifth master. "The most important thing right now is to repel the pirates. Let me take care of this person." Shen Fengho's cultivation was deep and immeasurable. Even if the giant shark gang's leaders came, they might not be able to beat him. However, this was the giant shark gang's territory. How could they fight as they pleased? The giant shark gang said they had over 100,000 people. From the current situation, it was very likely this was true. These fellows seemed to be very proficient in water and could control water-type demon beasts. Digging into the bottom of the boat and using all kinds of sneak attacks, no one could do anything about it. Shen Fengho was not here to suppress the pirates, so if he caused a lot of trouble, he would not be able to finish the rest of the journey. These pirates would definitely cause trouble for him. Wouldn't that be a big problem? The calm martial ruler's anger was not small. "All right, I'll leave it to you." Shen Fengho knew that Chu Tian had many tricks up his sleeves and was anxious to repel the pirates, so he did not care about the fifth master. "Chen Bingyu, give me a hand." Chen Bingyu had a bit of friendship with Shen Fengho, so she did not reject him. Without saying a word, she jumped into the lake. In that instant, a cold energy was released. The surface of the lake froze and the pirates that were destroying the boat were frozen in time. The Divine Wind Marquis also made his move, filling the sky with wind blades and wind blades. With these two experts working together, these pirates were not a problem. Chu Tian walked in front of the large bearded gang leader. "Let us have a chat now." "Brat, who do you think you are? Do you have the qualifications to talk to father?" The large bearded man angrily glared at Chu Tian. "If you have the skills, then kill father. My 100,000 brothers will take revenge for me. You're already a captive and you're still this arrogant." Nangong Yun charged forward and kicked him. "I think this fellow needs a beating. Let me beat him up. I've never beaten a true soul realm cultivator before." "Nangong, don't cause trouble." Chu Tian waved his hand at Nangong Yun. "Have you prepared the things I wanted you to prepare?" Nangong Yun placed a large bucket of lake water in front of Chu Tian. "Strange, what do you want me to do with this water?" Chu Tian lifted the fifth master up and shoved his head into the bucket. "What are you doing?" Chu Tian said to the others. "Come and see for yourselves." Meng Yingying was the first to come over and she couldn't help being shocked. "Aya, this is bad. There are gills behind his ears." Everyone did not believe it, but when they saw it, they were all stunned by this strange scene. Behind the large bearded man's ears, there really were gills that were opening and closing as they breathed. How could gills grow on a human's body? Monsters. These fellows are not humans at all. The soldiers all felt a trace of fear in their hearts. Lake God, there really is a lake god. The old guide that Shen Fengho invited trembled in fear as he muttered, "These people are the lake god's servants, so they have this kind of ability. We've caused a great disaster. The lake god will definitely be enraged." Chapter 210. When Chu Tian lifted the large bearded man out of the bucket, the gill slits behind the large bearded man's ears slowly disappeared. Everyone was shocked. Why did they have this kind of ability? This was definitely not the effect of a cultivation technique. I thought it was very strange. The pirates could hide underwater for this long, and they could even dive into our boat without us noticing. Nangong Yun's eyes popped out as she shouted at the large bearded man, "Quickly tell me, what kind of demons are you? Tell us the truth right now." "Demons? Ignorant fools." The large bearded man gave a few loud laughs and said with a proud face, "This is an innate gift from the lake gods. How could these mortals understand? In these waters, there is no one that dares to go against the giant shark gang. Even the southern summer kingdom can't do anything to us, so you'll have to pay the price for provoking the giant shark gang." After saying this, he revealed a look of disdain. "If you want to kill them, do as you please. These pirates were like fish in the water of the Four States Lake. Even if the southern summer kingdom sent an army, it would be hard to catch them all. Once the giant shark gang retaliated, the Four States Lake would not be able to travel, which would be a large loss to the southern summer kingdom." A gift from the lake gods? While everyone was feeling troubled, only Chu Tian said with a taunting face, "From what I see, it's not an innate gift, it's more suitable to call it a curse." "Curse? The lake god's curse?" The large bearded man's face turned red as he angrily shouted, "You dare insult the great lake gods? Stop pretending. What lake gods? Something that doesn't exist." Chu Tian seemed like he had already seen through everything. "You only opened a hidden treasure at the bottom of the lake and obtained an ancient inheritance. However, what you didn't expect was that after obtaining this hidden treasure, you would have to pay such a high price. Am I right?" "Nonsense." The large bearded man angrily shouted, "The giant shark gang has obtained the lake god's blessing and now has over 100,000 members. The several thousand miles of the Four States Lake are all our territory." "That's right, you've obtained the sea race's ability and can breathe underwater. The large Four States Lake is yours to roam. But once you leave the Four States Lake, can you still be as free as you are now?" "You?" Chu Tian did not give the large bearded man a chance to speak and directly cut him off. "The giant shark gang has over 100,000 members and many true soul experts. Even in southern Xia, they are considered a first-rate power. But after all these years, the giant shark gang has been robbing the Four States Lake for a living, not daring to come ashore to steal territory, so they don't have much influence. Can you tell me why?" The fifth sect master spat. "Of course you won't say that it's because the giant shark gang can't leave the Four States Lake for a long time, right?" Meng Yingying was like a curious baby, her face full of doubt. "Why can't they live on the surface?" "Because the giant shark gang opened the sea race's inheritance treasure, they obtained the sea race's inheritance. How could humans accept the inheritance of the sea race? So, forcefully taking the inheritance will result in a mutation and they will be cursed by the ruins. As long as they leave the Four States Lake for a while, they will wither and die. Other than that, they will become more dependent on this power and their bodies will gradually change. For example, gills will appear, scales will grow, and webbing will appear on their hands and feet. They will slowly turn from humans into the sea race, finally being rejected by their bodies and dying." The large bearded man went from disdain to anger, and finally to being completely stunned. This was the giant shark gang's secret. How did this brat know? It was very strange and simply an unbelievable matter. But from the large bearded man's expression, could it be true? Could there really be such a strange ruin? Of course there was. Chu Tian had seen it many times in the ancient book. When he understood the giant shark gang's power and scale, Chu Tian felt it was very strange. These sects clearly had great strength, so why didn't Shen Fengho understand them? Did he say they were indifferent to fame and wealth and were above the mortal world? Then how could they be thieves? Killing and pillaging, harming the people. With this kind of power and scale, what was wrong with doing other things? Then Chu Tian saw Shen Fengho knock the giant shark gang members into the water. They were actually able to swim through the water like fish, and with the special blue and purple blood, Chu Tian was sure that their bodies had undergone some kind of mutation. In this era, the old civilization and the old civilization were all over the place. Ancient ruins were everywhere. Chu Tian's guess was 80% to 90% accurate, and this experiment with the large bearded man was to verify his guess. When he saw the gills on the large bearded man's body, which was a typical characteristic of the sea race, Chu Tian was 100% sure. "Who are you? Who I am isn't important," Chu Tian said to the large bearded man. "The important thing is that I can help you get rid of this curse." "Impossible." The large bearded man's body trembled as he revealed a face of disbelief. Then he angrily roared, "It's been 20 years. No one can escape. Don't think you can trick me like this." "Large bearded man, you're in luck." Meng Yingying walked over and said, "Chu Tian is the founder of Miracle Commerce, so if he says he can do it, then he can." Miracle Commerce's Chu Tian? Miracle Commerce did not have a shipping business, so many merchants saw this business opportunity. They bought large amounts of Miracle Commerce's goods and transported them to other states to sell at a high price. Several of the ships were intercepted by the giant shark gang, and one of them was even done by the large bearded man, so he had a bit of understanding towards Miracle Commerce. This was clearly a little brat who hadn't even grown hair, but he was actually the founder of Miracle Commerce? But so what if he was the founder of Miracle Commerce? The giant shark gang benefited from the inheritance, but they were also restricted by it. This inheritance made them stronger, but it also made them lose their freedom. There were gains and losses, so there was no way around it. "You don't believe me?" Chu Tian took out a light red liquid from the large gourd storage space. "Nangong, feed it to him." Nangong Yun opened the large bearded man's mouth and poured the light red liquid into the large bearded man's mouth. The large bearded man's body curled up like a shrimp as he painfully twitched on the ground. Large amounts of light red blood appeared on the surface of his body. "Hot, hot, so hot. Damn, what did you give me to drink?" The large bearded man could clearly feel that his originally cold blood, under the influence of this strange medicine, it was slowly becoming warm again. The power that was deep in his blood was slowly disappearing. How was this possible? Chu Tian ordered, "Cut open his hand and see what happens." Nangong Yun pulled out her dagger and cut the big bearded man's palm. Blood dripped into the wooden barrel, and the color of the blood was no longer a strange purplish blue, but a purplish red. There was not much difference between the blood of a normal human. The large bearded man stared at the blood in a daze and did not come back to his senses for a long time. In the 20 years since the giant shark gang was established, no one had ever escaped this curse. This young man took out a strange medicine. It actually removed most of the curse's power. "You still have the ability to breathe underwater." Chu Tian revealed a pained expression. That was a diluted spiritual god's blood that he did not even have time to use. This medicine has already removed all restrictions. From now on you are free. The large bearded man was completely stunned. He was finally convinced. If this person could remove the restrictions on the giant shark gang and give freedom to the 100,000 members of the giant shark gang, then he would truly be the giant shark gang's parent. The large bearded man kneeled down. "Mister, save us." Chu Tian softly said, "Have your people leave." The large bearded man took out a cornet and forcefully blew it a few times. There were hundreds of people around him, and each person was hiding in the water with gills growing out of their ears. Fifth Master, don't panic. We're here to save you. All of you scram for me." The large bearded man anxiously roared out. The giant shark gang had been tortured for 20 years and now a savior had appeared. If they didn't hold on to him, would they ever have another chance? Quickly inform the headmaster to welcome the guests. The giant shark gang members were all stunned. Guess? The giant shark gang never allowed outsiders to enter the water because that was an offense to the Great Lake gods. The current fifth master's actions were very strange. The large bearded man angrily roared, "Are you all deaf? Why aren't you scramming back?" Yes. The giant shark gang members all sank into the water and the several thousand members all left. Shen Fengho and Qin Bingyu were very surprised. When they defeated the skinny middle-aged man and returned to the deck, they saw the large bearded man respectfully standing in front of Chu Tian and sincerely saying, "I ask Mr. to help the giant shark gang." In just a few minutes, this fellow had already changed. "I can indeed help you restrain the corrosion of the sea race bloodline." Chu Tian paused for a bit before saying, "However, this will not be a small price for me. Tell me, why do you think I should help you?" "That's right," Meng Yingying said from the side, "these people are definitely bad people. We have no obligation to help a group of villains. Otherwise, if they return to normal, it's unknown how many people will suffer." Shen Fengho also coldly said, "The giant shark gang has committed many crimes over the years. Once Thunderstate's matter is over, this marquis will unite the 4 states to destroy them. How can we allow them to continue being so rampant?" The large bearded man quickly said, "We have no choice. Marquis, there is no need to be anxious." Chu Tian confirmed the giant shark gang's inheritance, so he naturally understood what was going on with them. He said to the large bearded man, "How about this? I'll personally go to your base and discuss the conditions. What do you think?" "Of course you can. Brother Chu." Feng Kaidai stood up, "These pirates are extremely evil. You are sending a sheep into a tiger's mouth." Shen Fengho did not recommend Chu Tian take this risk. "Chen Bingyu will protect you and you will be responsible for supporting us from the outside." Chu Tian said in a confident voice, "Relax, I can take care of this matter." There were too many members of the giant shark gang. If they did not think of a way to deal with them, it would be hard for them to pass through. Shen Fengho saw that Chu Tian was calm as if he already had a card up his sleeve, so he did not stop him. With Shen Fengho personally threatening them, they would not dare do anything. Chu Tian brought Qin Bingyu and the captive old Fifth Yu, riding a small boat to the giant shark gang's headquarters. Chapter 211. There was a large archipelago in the center of the 4 states lake. The archipelago was not that big and it was like a torn piece of paper. It was thrown into the water in a disorderly manner, covering an area of over 100 miles. The largest island was around the same size as Central State City. Because it was shaped like a skull, it was named Skull Island. Skull Island was the core headquarters of the giant shark gang. Chu Tian, Qin Bingyu, and Old Fifth Yu were sitting in a small boat, slowly moving through the archipelago. Every island had traces of human activity, such as simple and crude constructions, dried fish, prawns, crabs, and other food. Although the giant shark gang was strong, they did not have any source of income. Adding in the large number of people, their days were tight. It was a good thing that the 4 states' lake was rich in seafood, so a trivial 100,000 people wouldn't die. The gang relied on seafood to survive, and if they couldn't, they would rob merchant ships to earn some extra money, barely managing to survive. The small boat arrived at Skull Island. Old Fifth Yu personally jumped into the water because the giant shark gang did not have a dock. He used his bare hands to pull the boat to shore. "You too, please come with me." Chu Tian walked in front with Qin Bingyu behind him. The two of them first saw a giant gate made of white stone, and behind the gate was a stone-paved path that led to the middle of the island. There was a small square where a few huge and majestic statues of the lake god stood. Over the years, the giant shark gang had been very xenophobic. No one had ever entered the archipelago, not to mention the core Skull Island. So, when Chu Tian came, he immediately attracted the attention of the people on the island. They all raised their weapons and surrounded him. "The 5th Master is back. I was wondering why the 5th Master was captured." "5th Sect Master, are these 2 people the sacrificial offerings for the lake god?" The giant shark gang members were dressed very strangely. They used shark skin to make boots, vests, and hats. Their clothes were all tattered, making them look like fishermen who had escaped to an island. Chen Bingyu was a bit confused seeing this. Although they had extraordinary strength, they lived like beggars. This was very rare in southern Xia. Among the gang members, there were old people, women, and even children. The giant shark gang had only been around 20 years ago, so it was impossible for them to reach this level. Most of the members had joined later. As for how they joined, there was no need to guess. When the giant shark gang attacked the ships and villages, they would always take away the people along with the goods. The reason why the giant shark gang liked to take captives was to prevent them from complaining and also to increase the giant shark gang's population. These captives would forcefully strengthen the whale gang's inheritance, bestowing them with the sea race's innate talent and bloodline. They would also be bound by the curse, unable to leave the Four States Lake. In the end, he had no choice but to join the giant shark gang. Escape? That was impossible. Once the giant shark gang members came ashore, they would wither for a day or two before dying. Scram. Get lost. Old Fifth Yu dismissed the crowd that was watching and then brought Chu Tian to the middle of the mountain. They walked into a damp cave. This cave was where the true high-level members of the giant shark gang lived, and only branch lords and above had the qualifications to enter. Old Five, why did you come back? A skinny middle-aged man holding two blades was healing inside. When he saw Old Fifth Yu return, he immediately revealed a look of pleasant surprise. Those damn people from the Central State let you go? They didn't do anything to you, right? Old Fifth Yu cupped his hands. Many thanks for Fourth Brother's help, I'm fine. Old Fifth Yu did not even finish before a hoarse and strict voice came from the dark cave. How could you bring an outsider here? Have you forgotten the rules? Chu Tian looked in the direction of the abyss. In the depths of the dark and damp cave, there was a natural pool that suddenly rippled. A stooped figure slowly rose from the water. His entire body was wet and dripping with water. A frightening and cold aura suddenly filled the entire cave, making people shudder. Big brother, please listen to my explanation. Old Fifth Yu respectfully cupped his hands. This Central State person can break the curse on us for many years. Old Fifth, you dare slander the lake gods. A burly man with gray hair walked out and roared furiously. Do you know what you're doing? Old Fifth Yu anxiously said, Second brother, I didn't. Lake gods? Ha! Chu Tian was too lazy to listen to his brother's argument. He immediately laughed a few times, and his clear and melodious voice echoed in the cave. In order to rule this archipelago, to rule your 100,000 gang members, you made up a so-called lake god for people to worship? The most laughable thing is that the person who made up this lie has even tricked himself. How could there be a lake god? The giant shark gang was just a special sect. The giant shark gang wanted to better control the sect, so they made up a mysterious lake god. It was to control the minds of the gang members, making them believe in the existence of the lake god and make them work for them. Otherwise, this kind of restriction was hard to understand and it was hard to find a reasonable explanation. The gray-haired man angrily said, insulting the lake gods. Seeking death. We should take him as a sacrifice to the lake gods. Insulting the lake gods. Die. Kill him. The surrounding giant shark gang high-level members were filled with rage as a sharp and terrifying killing intent shrouded them. Chen Bingyu's brows knit together. The cave was too dark and there was no light, so she couldn't see clearly. However, from the aura and killing intent, the giant shark gang had quite a few experts, which far surpassed her imagination. Chu Tian's expression did not change as he calmly said, If my guesses aren't wrong, the sea race's treasure you obtained was an ancient altar used to strengthen the sea race's bloodline. The sea race used sacrificial offerings on the altar to stimulate the hidden potential of their bloodline. This is a secret treasure of a certain kind of sea race, but you guys are ignorant enough to occupy it and use it to increase your own strength. However, you do not know that a human body can withstand the sea race's sacrifice. If you forcefully make this sacrifice, it will cause a mutation in your human bloodline, slowly turning you into the sea race. The gills are only the first changes. Once this mutation begins, there is no way to stop it. You will not be able to leave the water and you will not be able to stop the sacrifice. Otherwise, in less than a day, your body will crack and you will die from weakness. Of course, you can continue to make sacrifices to keep the sea race's bloodline active. Doing this will make the sea race's bloodline stronger and stronger. Your bodies will also have more and more characteristics of the sea race. You will become a monster that is neither human nor fish. When your human bloodline cannot suppress your foreign bloodline, you will die from the rejection of your bloodline. Whether you give up the sacrifice or continue the sacrifice, the result will be death, am I right? These words were powerful and resounded throughout the cave. It caused the giant shark gang's arrogance to drop and everyone turned silent. The white-haired old man standing in the pool slowly stood up and said in a cold and hoarse voice, "Who is your excellency?" "I don't dare, this one is Chu Tian." The white-haired old man was very tall, but he was now very thin. He was wearing an ancient fisherman mask and he was holding a fish-bone staff in his hand. Chu Tian did not even finish speaking. The white-haired old man gently flicked his finger and a drop of water flew at Chu Tian. So fast. Chu Tian did not have time to dodge before the drop of water landed in front of him. It instantly bloomed and turned into a giant ball of water that wrapped around Chu Tian. A strong force lifted Chu Tian into the air. This ball of water looked thin, but it was actually very strong. With Chu Tian's current cultivation base, he could not break it. The white-haired old man's strange blue eyes released a terrifying killing intent. "You think that with Shen Fengho backing you, you can act recklessly in my giant shark gang?" Even if Shen Fengho personally came, this old man would still fight him. Not to mention a little brat like you. Chen Bingyu's eyes revealed a fierce look. Her right palm released a terrifying cold chi as it chopped at the white-haired old man. The white-haired old man shot out another drop of water at Chen Bingyu. Chen Bingyu knit his brows and released a white light that instantly froze the drop of water. Pumph! The white-haired old man gave a cold snort. The ice bead began to shatter and a strong energy burst out, instantly filling every corner of the cave, making it hard for the others to stand. The faces of the giant shark gang's high-level members fell. This woman's cultivation base was very high. Although it was a bit lacking compared to the leader, it was not below the second leader. Chen Bingyu was forced back several steps and her face slightly sunk. This old monster was stronger than she imagined. She was not his match. The white-haired old man was also shocked. This woman was not old and her cultivation base was only a bit weaker than his. Adding in the fact that one of the 8 marquises, Shen Fengho, was eyeing him like a tiger, the people that came to the giant shark gang this time were not simple. Old Fifth Yu was afraid that something would happen. "Big brother, stop. You can't kill him." Chu Tian was locked in the water prison. Although he could not move, he did not panic at all because the white-haired old man did not have any killing intent. The giant shark gang's boss Yu is truly strong. Even Chen Bingyu is slightly inferior to him. Chu Tian spoke in a leisurely manner, as if he wasn't a prisoner at all. "However, you've received the deepest inheritance from the sea race. If I haven't guessed wrong, your body has already started to mutate. Your feet have grown webs, your body has grown fish scales, and even the bones in your body have changed." The giant shark gang members were all stunned. The leader had not taken off his mask in many years and he was usually dressed up. Could his body have really changed? The white-haired old man was silent. "I'm sure that you won't live past half a year." Chu Tian loudly shouted, "But if you die, then you die. Do you want to drag the entire giant shark gang and the brothers that fought with you to the grave? Or, do you want to see your brothers who have gone through fire and water with you turn into monsters like you?" The white-haired old man's body trembled. "Big brother." Old Fifth Yu quickly walked forward. "Mr. Chu Tian is really here to help us. The curse on my body has already been completely removed. If you don't believe me, you can take a look." The white-haired old man suddenly grabbed Old Fifth Yu's wrist. That pair of strange blue eyes became more and more serious. It was followed by shock and amazement before finally revealing a look of wild joy. Was it really removed? Chapter 212. Boss Yu couldn't help slightly trembling. This was simply unbelievable. It was like a dream. Boss Yu was the biggest beneficiary of the treasure. It allowed a normal awakened soul cultivator to reach the 9th awakened soul layer without any resources. If they fought in the water, even if it was a super expert on the level of the Southern Summer 8 marquises, Boss Yu was confident he could fight them. Boss Yu was also the biggest victim of the treasure. Because he had been corroded by the curse, Boss Yu's condition was much worse than the normal gang members. He had not stepped on land for 5 years, and even on Skull Island he had been soaking in the pool all day, otherwise his body would quickly wither and he would be in danger in around 10 hours. The most terrifying thing was that Boss Yu's body had changed. His temperament and habits had all been affected. Not only had he become like a human or a ghost, he had been subjected to unimaginable cruel torture. He could only be maintained with large amounts of painkillers, and the speed of the change was increasing. Perhaps his life would be in danger soon. Boss Yu did not have any hope. Who would have thought that a miracle would happen at this time? Boss Yu held Old Fifth's hand. "You're really free." Old Fifth Yu's eyes were filled with tears as he forcefully nodded. "This mister really has a way." The water prison instantly shattered and Chu Tian regained his freedom, falling back to the ground. Shen Yinyu wanted to help him up, but Chu Tian waved his hand, indicating that he was fine. The white-haired old man's blue eyes stared at him. "You can really help us?" Chu Tian revealed a confident smile. "This kind of mutation is caused by a special curse. I just happen to have a method that can break any kind of curse, even one that goes deep into one's blood and bones. Although I don't dare say that no one on the continent besides me can break it, in a place like Southern Xia, you won't be able to find a second one." The 5 Yu brothers revealed looks of disbelief. The white-haired old man's breathing became rushed and he shouted in a hoarse voice, "Mistress Grace, please save the giant shark gang. There is no free lunch in this world. It's just like how you coveted the sea race's power and suffered the backlash of the sea race." Chu Tian's eyes turned sharp as he looked over the high-level members of the giant shark gang. He said with an expressionless face, "I can break your bloodline curse, but I will have to pay a high price. I have no relationship with you, so I have no obligation to save you." What he meant was, "You want me to save you? Not bad. Show some sincerity first." The white-haired old man was silent for a few seconds before saying in a hoarse voice, "The giant shark gang is poor and has no money. The giant shark gang's 100,000 members are our wealth." Chu Tian directly said, "You want me to save you? Sure. But I want the giant shark gang to work for me." As soon as these words came out, everyone was enraged. Greed is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. Aren't you afraid of choking? The giant shark gang had developed for over 20 years and finally had over 100,000 members. There were 5 true Soul Realm experts and several illustrious Soul Realm experts, with 8-9 of them reaching the peak of the illustrious Soul Realm. This brat wanted to swallow such a strong force in one gulp? That was simply a dream. Not to mention whether he had the ability or not, the giant shark gang would not agree. The giant shark gang was still a gang and a different kind of sect. They had their own teachings and inheritances, so they still had their basic dignity. Even if you remove the restriction, we will fall into a new restriction. Don't you think your request is a bit too high? The white-haired old man said in a low voice, "The giant shark gang has its own pride. We will not serve anyone." That's right. This brat has wild ambitions. He clearly wants to swallow our giant shark gang. Even if our giant shark gang can't move freely on land, we can at least move freely on the 4 states lake. Why should we become a pawn for a brat? In the end, it was because Chu Tian was too young. The giant shark gang had as many experts as clouds, so how could they submit to him? The giant shark gang members were filled with indignation, but they did not find it strange at all. Gangs and sects cared about seniority. Now that a young brat had come and wanted the giant shark gang to submit to him, wasn't this just a fantasy? Don't be in such a hurry to refuse. Chu Tian revealed a calm smile. "First listen to what I have to say." Boss Yu said in a hoarse voice, "No matter what conditions you add, the giant shark gang will not become a tool. You work for me, but you don't have to be loyal to me." Chu Tian emphasized, "We have a cooperative relationship, not a subordinate relationship. Do you understand what I'm saying?" Chu Tian knew his own limits. Miracle Commerce did not have the ability to swallow the giant shark gang. The gray-haired second old Yu asked, "Don't try to change the concept. Is there a difference between the two? You're making a huge mistake by thinking like this. Chu Tian said to second old Yu in a sharp voice. A cooperative relationship is a parallel relationship, so there is no superior or inferior relationship. The Giant Shark Gang will work for Miracle Commerce, so the Giant Shark Gang will receive a proper reward. That's all. How could there be anything else? Third old Yu asked, then what can your Miracle Commerce give us? Chu Tian looked right into third old Yu's eyes. That depends on what you lack the most. Money. Reputation. The Giant Shark Gang members looked at each other in blank dismay. The Giant Shark Gang was indeed very poor and they had always been pirates. This was not something that could be easily changed. Miracle Commerce will directly invest 100 million gold coins into the Giant Shark Gang. Opening with 100 million gold coins, this kind of rich and overbearing attitude was enough to shock the normal gang members. Fourth old Yu said in a dissatisfied voice, the Giant Shark Gang has 100,000 people, 100 million gold coins is not enough. That's right. Chu Tian revealed a faint smile, then 200 million gold coins. Everyone was silent. This brat was too rich. Still not enough? Then 400 million. Everyone sucked in a cold breath. This brat did not even blink and had actually doubled it. With the Giant Shark Gang's current situation, 400 million gold coins is enough to solve our urgent problems. Chu Tian finally said, but as long as you are willing to cooperate with me, I am willing to represent Miracle Commerce and invest 1 billion gold coins into the Giant Shark Gang in half a year. What? Increase it to 1 billion. Even if it was the Central State 4 great families, this would be the sum of several years of income. The Whale Gang was knocked dizzy by the Golden Club. Boss Yu was also deeply shaken. Are you serious? Father has money. Chu Tian said in a confident voice, if I can say I can do it. We can find Shin Feng Ho to notarize a contract. If Miracle Commerce doesn't give us enough gold coins in half a year, it will be considered an alliance with Miracle Commerce. The Giant Shark Gang will regain their independence and the initial fee will be considered as a breach of contract. This was just a group of bandits. Their main source of income came from robbing merchant ships and occasionally robbing villages and towns. How much income could they make? The resources they obtained not only needed to be used as sacrifices, but they also needed to satisfy their own needs, so they were very tight on money. 1 billion gold coins. This was enough to make the Giant Shark Gang lose their way. If Miracle Commerce could do it, then 95% of the middle and lower class members would not have any objections. Miracle Commerce is not only investing 1 billion gold coins into the Giant Shark Gang, we will also help the Giant Shark Gang transform and provide you with a suitable way to make a living. Of course, we will need 50% of the Giant Shark Gang's shares. We will only receive dividends in the future, but we will not interfere with the management. In terms of internal affairs, you will be completely independent. Good brat, this giant was treating the Giant Shark Gang as an investment. Could the Giant Shark Gang really create this much value? Wasn't he afraid that this large investment would be wasted? Finally, if you are willing to work in Miracle Commerce, we will give you a suitable annual salary. Chu Tian paused before saying, I promise that a true Soul Realm cultivator's annual salary will not be lower than 50 million gold coins. The Giant Shark Gang was knocked unconscious once again. Each of Chu Tian's words seemed to be repeating a message. Father has money, so follow father and you will be able to eat well. From the expressions of these country bumpkins, Chu Tian knew that he had completely fooled them. Actually, Miracle Commerce's finances were a bit tight and they couldn't take out 1 billion gold coins, but Miracle Commerce was currently in a rapid growth stage, so they had to brace themselves to buy this power. This was a very meaningful and valuable investment. The Giant Shark Gang itself was very strong. This was a very strong force. Just the Giant Shark Gang increasing Miracle Commerce's power was not something that could be measured with 1 billion gold coins. The most important thing was that the Giant Shark Gang had a large advantage in the water. The 4 states' lake and the 4 states were opposite and they could follow the rivers to reach different cities. Once Miracle Commerce controlled the 4 states' lake, they would control a large transportation network. Meng Qingwu already had plans to buy several fleets, but it seemed like instead of buying fleets, it was better to directly invest in the Giant Shark Gang. This was an opportunity for the giant shark gang. First, Chu Tian could solve their curse, which was the biggest chip that the giant shark gang could not resist. Secondly, with 1 billion gold coins, the giant shark gang could escape poverty. Moreover, a company that could casually take out 1 billion gold coins was not normal. This person also had a close relationship with a top-notch official like Shen Fengho, so the giant shark gang needed this kind of power to transform. Their brothers' lives were too poor. Perhaps they really needed to improve. I've already said what I wanted to say. Chu Tian casually turned around and walked out. Chen Bingyu followed behind him. I'll give you a bit of time to consider it. I'll be back in a few days and I hope you can give me a definite answer at that time. Chu Tian left. He swaggered out of the cave. No one from the giant shark gang stopped him because they were all deep in thought. Looking at the back of this brat leaving, everyone was speechless for a long time. This person was so young. But he gave off an unfathomable feeling. Big brother, we've already attracted Shen Fengho's attention. Old Fifth Yu said with a serious expression. If we don't quickly turn around, Shen Fengho will not let us go. Shen Fengho was just passing by this time and did not come to suppress the giant shark gang. However, the giant shark gang had already offended Shen Fengho, so perhaps Shen Fengho would not allow them to continue expanding in the 4 states lake. The giant shark gang did not want to have a conflict with the Southern Summer 8 Marquises. Not to mention that Old Yu's cultivation was a level lower than Shen Fengho's, so what if he could beat Shen Fengho? Shen Fengho was one of the Southern Summer 8 Marquises. If he came out and united the 4 states to suppress the bandits, there would be at least 4 Marquises. Could the giant shark gang escape? If they alerted the 3 rulers, it would be a disaster. Old Yu ordered. Old Fifth will follow their fleet and see what they are doing. Old Fourth will bring a few people to Central State and investigate Miracle Commerce's background. We'll first see if this power is worth cooperating with. This matter was very important, so it was better to be cautious. Chapter 213. The 5 warships had just finished repairing. Chu Tian is back. Meng Yingying raised her head and saw that Chu Tian had returned. She happily waved her little hand. Chu Tian, did you really go to the pirate's nest? What was it like inside? Was it fun? Everyone was speechless. This Meng Yingying was a fellow with no sense of humor. Chu Tian entering the giant shark gang's nest was a risky move. Nan Gongyun quickly asked, how did your discussion go? It's in the bag. Chu Tian revealed a mysterious smile and then said to Yingying, just wait and see. Your canned food will soon be sold throughout half of Southern Xia and even all of Southern Xia. Shen Fengho's eyes flashed. He knew what this meant. This brat had only gone in for a while. Could he have already reached an agreement with these fierce pirates? If it was like this, then it was a good thing. Otherwise, Shen Fengho would not allow the giant shark gang to continue causing trouble and would think of a way to eliminate all the pirates. I have an urgent mission, so it's inconvenient to stay here any longer. Chu Tian said to Shen Fengho, the pirates will not bother us anymore, so let's head to Thunder State as fast as we can. Shen Fengho nodded, let's head out immediately. The 5 warships began to move again. They swaggered through the calm waters, sailing across the misty lake. Other than encountering the giant shark gang, they were occasionally attacked by water demon beasts, but they didn't encounter any other big problems. On the evening of the next day, the warships arrived at Thunder State's docks. The reason why Thunder State was called Thunder State was because it had a special environment. There was a lot of rain and thunder, with meteors falling and the weather changing. According to Chu Tian's guess, the space above Thunder State was not very stable, which was one of the reasons for the planar crack. Everyone disembark. The deck of the warship opened, and the elite cavalry landed on the warhorses. Central State City's most elite cavalry troops generally had 80 to 90% body refinement realm strength. Their warhorses were level 1 high-quality demon beasts called Azure Gale Colts. They had a single horn on their heads and their bodies were covered in green scales. Not only did they have strong endurance and explosive strength, they could also shoot wind blades to attack their enemies. This was a special mount used by the elite cavalry of Southern Xia. It could borrow the power of the wind attribute to accelerate. Its normal speed could easily reach 300 kilometers per hour, and it could even exceed 400 kilometers per hour at full power. At such a high speed, ordinary people would find it difficult to even breathe, let alone wield their weapons and fight. Thus, the storm cavalry standards were very strict. At the very least, they had to be at the 7th level of body refinement and be proficient in a set of spear techniques. Even if they had to travel thousands of miles a day, they would still be able to quickly enter battle. This was a well-deserved team with super high mobility. The 1,000 cavalry came ashore and lined up in a row. As fast as lightning, they charged out. Meng Yingying had also received a storm horse. She was in high spirits as she sat on the back of the horse. She used her whip to point at the tall city in front of her and excitedly shouted, "Chuten, Chuten, I can see Thunder State's main city." Thunder State's main city was the same as Central State's main city. It was built on the 4 sides of the lake, making it convenient for shipping. At this moment, Thunder State City was shrouded in a heavy atmosphere. All of the city gates were tightly closed and the city walls were filled with Thunder State City's army. The ground outside was filled with holes, as if there had been several fierce battles. The farms on the outskirts of the city had been destroyed. The fields, medicine fields, and fruit forests had all been contaminated by some kind of power. All of the crops had withered and died. This was truly a heavy loss. The people of Central State were shocked. Could it be that even the main city had been affected? The severity of this disaster was even higher than what they had imagined. When everyone arrived at the bottom of Thunder State City, they saw that the ground was filled with scars. The majestic city walls were also damaged. A few soldiers wearing Southern Xia's armor were currently moving corpses out and piling them up in large pits that had been dug outside of the city. There were a total of 6 pits. Every pit had 3,000 to 4,000 corpses piled up like a small hill. Everyone was completely shocked. When had they ever seen such a terrifying scene before? Especially Feng Kai-dai, Meng Yingying, and the other pure people. This was too terrifying. He had never seen a person being thrown to the ground like trash. The countless broken limbs piled up and twisted like a devil's painting. The smell of sulfur filled the air. It was accompanied by a strong burnt smell. It made their stomachs churn and they almost vomit on the spot. Meng Yingying was completely shocked. Are these the victims? They should be. Chu Tian looked at the corpses. Each one was seriously withered and had sunken eyes. Their bodies were burnt black like they had been burned by some kind of technique. The little fox stared at the corpses with interest. It forcefully took a deep breath, as if it could feel the dark attributed energy it liked. When the Abyss Demon passes through the plane crack, it will bring a large amount of Abyss aura with it. These should be the citizens that have been contaminated by the Abyss energy and have been controlled by the Abyss Demon. They should be demon soldiers under the control of the demon. Feng Kai-dai revealed an unbearable expression. There should be large amounts of demonized humans in Thunder State right now. Chu Tian, can you think of a way to save them? After all, they seem to be innocent victims. Only a sudden disaster caused them to become like this. Directly slaughtering them is too cruel. That's right. Meng Yingying also anxiously said to Chu Tian, you have great abilities, think of a way to help them. You have to understand that the demonization of living beings is irreversible. Even if there is a way, it is not something we can do with the resources we have right now. Chu Tian gave a bitter laugh. Each demonized being's body has been distorted, their minds have been shattered, and their souls have been deeply contaminated. In a certain sense, they have already become demons. The best way to deal with demonized beings is to purify them from their roots, freeing them from this endless pain. The Thunder State soldiers had already filled the pits with fuel and ignited the thousands of corpses. Meng Yingying and Feng Kai-dai looked at the 6 giant pits of fire in silence for a long time. This kind of cruel scene was something they did not dare believe before. Don't be sad. Chu Tian patted Meng Yingying's shoulder. Didn't we come to Thunder State to help them? Meng Yingying nodded. She once again recognized the importance of strength. Shen Fengho, you're too slow. The city gates opened at this time and 2 middle-aged men came out. Their auras were very strong, not inferior to Shen Fengho's. They should be 2 of the 8 southern summer marquises. One of them was clad in golden armor. His skin was dark and rough, and he was dressed like a general. He exuded a decisive and capable aura, and there was a longbow in the shape of a dragon hanging on his back. His aura was as sharp as an arrow. Feng Kaidai said in a low voice, "This person must be the Golden Arrow Marquis." The other was a middle-aged man with gray sideburns, looking around 50 years old. He had a square face, a high nose, and an extraordinary appearance. He was wearing a dark gold robe made of an unknown material, and his right hand was holding a black spear, so he should be the Western Marquis. The Golden Arrow Marquis said, "Brother Feng, Brother Shangguan, this Jiang thanks the 2 of you for saving Thunder State. Please come in." "What? The Western Marquis is from the Shangguan family. Why are we so unlucky?" Chu Tian had a depressed expression, and the others were also helpless. They hoped that the Western Marquis did not know what happened in Central State. Thunder State City was a bustling main city just like Central State City. However, because of the crisis, all of Thunder State City's doors were closed and only a few shops were open. There were very few people on the streets, and there were only soldiers patrolling. The cavalry was stationed on the outskirts of the city. Meng Yingying led the mercenaries to move the canned food to reward the army. The others entered the Golden Arrow Marquis Palace and saw 6 youths waiting in the main hall. Of the 6 youths, 3 were from Thunder State and 3 were from Southern State. Thunder State's geniuses were the Golden Arrow Marquis Jiang Xiong's successor Jiang Shan, the Thunder State general's son Lien Pejuan, and Thunder State's descendant Lin Changge. Southern State's geniuses were the Western Marquis Shangguan Hong's successor Shangguan Feichen. The other 2 were called Wei Long and Wu Yang, both super geniuses of Southern State's large families. Jiang Shan and Shangguan Feichen were both in the 5th awakened soul layer. Lien Pejuan, Lin Changge, Wei Long, and Wu Yang, they were all experts in the peak 4th awakened soul layer. The Golden Arrow Marquis Jiang Xiong gave a few loud laughs. Central State is filled with talents, and the 4 young masters have become famous. Among them is the genius Chu Xinghe, with his unparalleled sharpness. Why is he not here this time? Chu Xinghe, Luo Xianglong, and Yi Tianlang are all injured, so they cannot participate in this mission. Shen Fengho introduced, Central State's Purple Lightning young master, Yun Yao, is leading the team. Yun Yao did not dare be negligent. This one's Yun Yao greets the 2 marquises. These are Feng Kaidai, Nangong Yun, and Chu Tian. Chu Tian. Shangguan Hong's eyes flashed. "What?" A voice rang out. "I was wondering why the people from Central State this time were so bad. It turns out Chu Xinghe is not here. I still want to compete with the geniuses of Central State." This was a man wearing a vest that revealed a thick arm. His skin was red and his name was Wu Yang, one of the geniuses brought by the Western Marquis. This person was in the peak 4th awakened soul layer, and his style was similar to Central State's Luo Xianglong. Moreover, his strength was not below Luo Xianglong's, so he was indeed a top talent. Yun Yao's face sunk. This fellow was clearly provoking them. Nengong Yun had a fiery temper. "You dare say we can't? Is that not the case?" Wu Yang said with a cold smile. "Then why don't we compete if you're not convinced?" Nangong Yun rolled up her sleeves and pulled out a giant hammer from behind her. "Come. Let's compete." Shen Fengho knit his brows. "Don't be rude. Don't forget our mission." The Western Marquis, Shangguan Hong said with a smile. "Shen Fengho, young people have a strong spirit and are eager to win, otherwise how can they be improved?" The calm martial ruler arranged for the young people to come to Thunder State to gain experience, so they wouldn't be blinded by a single leaf and not know the immensity of heaven and earth. It's rare for geniuses to meet, so why don't we have a little competition? Shangguan Feichen proposed. "I agree with my father, but if one's cultivation base is too high, it will be hard to control it and cause unnecessary casualties. Why don't we invite the weakest among us to come out and have a spar?" "That's fine." The Western Marquis, Shangguan Hong, did not give them any time to object. "Wei Long, you specialize in defense and attack power is not your specialty. I ask you to come out and compete with Central State's Chu Tian." Chu Tian. Everyone understood when they heard this. After all this time, This fellow was here to cause trouble for Chu Tian. Chapter 214. The Western Marquis, Shangguan Hong most likely knew about what had happened in Central State City. Shangguan Ming had been ruthlessly taught a lesson by Chu Tian, and in front of several thousand people, even his balls had been crushed. This was a member of the Shangguan family. Even if they were worthless, even if they were vile, how could they be taught a lesson by an outsider? A monkey that crawled out from who knows where dared to piss on a tiger's head? Currently, there wasn't much movement from King City, mainly because Shangguan Ming was in the wrong. As the special envoy that King City had sent to the Central State, he had to carry out a secret mission. Exposing his identity and running to the Central State's main city was definitely a blatant violation of King City's orders. What was even more wrong was that he actually coveted the Central State's hidden treasure and used the name of King City's special envoy to forcefully rob it. This was a huge taboo. The Shangguan family had sealed off the news, and there were not many people in Imperial City that knew about this. If this matter was made too big, it would attract attention and damage the Shangguan family's reputation, so it would be difficult for them to take revenge. Not to mention that Shen Fengho had mediated the matter. They had to give face to the Southern Summer 8 Marquises, so this matter was left unsettled. The Western Marquis, Shangguan Hong, was an important branch of the family. Although he did not have much contact with Shangguan Ming, as a member of the Shangguan family, he had a very strong sense of honor. This brat Chu Tian dared to disregard the Shangguan family's prestige, so how could they let him off easily? It would have been fine if they hadn't met. Since they had bumped into each other, they could not let him off easily. Shangguan Hong did not believe that the Divine Wind Marquis would fall out with him, one of the 8 Marquises, for a junior. At this moment, a burly man walked out. He was like a silent small mountain lying in front of Chu Tian, giving people a strong sense of oppression. Wei Long and Wu Yang were both super geniuses of large families in Southern State, but Wei Long was a bit weaker in comparison. Shangguan Feichen deliberately played with words. Most people had a misconception that a person with a strong defense would have a weak offense. This was not the case at all. Wei Long was a defensive expert, but with his strong defense, it did not stop him from having a strong destructive might. These two did not contradict each other. The Southern States Wei clan's several hundred-year-old mountain-moving secret art was not inferior to the Chu family's soul sword secret art in the Southern Summer Country. It was said that when cultivated to the peak, it would have the power to move mountains and fill the sea to suppress demons. It was a powerful cultivation technique that could not be blocked by 10,000 people. Shangguan Feichen said with a faint smile, Wei Long is the third-ranked genius of Southern State. Wei Long didn't say much. His eyes flashed with a cold light as he coldly stared at Chu Tian. In a low and muffled voice, he said, "Do you dare to compete?" Wei Long's skin was dark, and he had a large stature. He wasn't the slightest bit inferior to Wu Yang, but compared to the fierce and violent Wu Yang, Wei Long was like a solid boulder, giving off an unshakable feeling. Shen Fengho was a little hesitant. Chu Tian should be able to win. Wei Long was only a bit stronger than Central State's Luo Xiang. Chu Tian could defeat Luo Xianglong and Yi Tianlang alone without paying a large price. This meant that Chu Tian's strength had far surpassed this level. It all depended on whether he was willing to fight or not. Chu Tian gave Nangong Yun a look. Nangong Yun had been with Chu Tian for a long time, so she had a telepathic feeling. She could know what he meant from his eyes. She looked at Wei Long with a faint smile and said, "Big guy, are you sure you want to challenge the weakest of us?" Of course. After Wei Long finished speaking, he probably felt that it was a little inappropriate, so he added, "Start from the weakest." "Alright, wait a moment, I'll go get someone." Nangong Yun directly left the Marquis mansion. Chu Tian explained with a smile, "Since you want to fight the weakest, we'll just call the weakest person over. First defeat the weakest of us and then it won't be too late to challenge me, the second weakest." "Chu Tian, what did you call me over for?" After a few minutes, a young and beautiful green-clothed girl came in. She looked to be around 15 or 16 years old and had a childish look on her face. She said in a complaining voice, "I'm giving canned food to the soldiers of the 3 states, don't you know I'm very busy?" This big guy is the third-ranked genius of Southern State. Chu Tian pointed at Meng Yingying and said, "Our little girl is called Meng Yingying. She comes from a small family in a small central state city. I'm afraid she can't even enter the top 100. Wei Long felt insulted. "What do you mean? Humph, Central State's Chu Tian doesn't even have the courage to fight and instead sent a little girl to her death?" Shangguan Feichen said in a disdainful voice. "If this were to spread, it would damage the face of Central State. Little girl, I think you're not bad. How about you follow this prince? It's better than this heartless person." Pay. Although Meng Yingying didn't understand the situation, she would not allow anyone to insult Chu Tian. That was simply insulting her. "What do you want to do?" Chu Tian said to the confused Meng Yingying, "This big guy wants to test your defense. How about you play with him? You should have said so earlier. Then let's do it." Meng Yingying still had the proficient level Starlight Immortal body. In terms of fighting strength, she couldn't compare to normal people, but in terms of defense, even a fourth awakened soul layer cultivator wouldn't be able to break it. "Did I hear wrong?" Wu Yang broke out in laughter. "You actually want to compete with Wei Long in defense? Just a weak little girl like you? If you can't do it, then give up. I'm ashamed for you. Damn. You dare look down on me." Meng Yingying was instantly enraged. She directly activated the Starlight Immortal body and starlight seeped out from her body. Her originally crystal-like jade skin suddenly became transparent, reflecting a brilliant diamond-like luster. Countless mist-like spirit energy condensed above her head, finally forming a mirror-shaped source spirit. "You want to challenge Chu Tian? Then you'll have to pass this trial first." Wei Long gave a cold snort and a mountain-like aura was released from his body. After the spirit energy condensed, it turned into a majestic mountain. On the surface of Wei Long's body, large amounts of hard stone quickly appeared. Mountain source spirit? No wonder it had such a strong defense. A trivial peak triple awakened soul little girl, how could she compare to a famous super genius like Wei Long? Wei Long gave an angry roar and his right arm was covered in stone armor. It instantly expanded by 6-7 times, as if it weighed 1,000 pounds. The mountain source spirit not only had a mountain-like defense, it could also condense a mountain-like strength. Wei Long was not a person who had tender feelings for the fairer sex. If this little girl wanted to die, then he would kill her first. That Chu Tian had to be dealt with. This was a task given by the successor and most likely the Western Marquis orders. If he could beautifully complete this task, perhaps he would be rewarded by the Western Marquis. The Southern Summer 8 Marquises were not like Shin Fengho who did not care about fame and fortune. Whether it was Thunder State's Golden Arrow Marquis or Southern State's Western Marquis, they were not just the protectors of the state, they were also the masters of the main city. Their military and political power were all concentrated. So in Thunder State and Southern State, half of the resources were monopolized by the Marquis family. There was only one superfamily and the other large families had to give them face. The two Marquis successors had already broken through to the fifth awakened soul layer, which was much higher than Chu Xinghe's cultivation base. Of course, having a higher cultivation base than Chu Xinghe did not mean he was stronger than Chu Xinghe. Chu Xinghe's innate talent was very rare and he had obtained an ancient sword cultivation inheritance. With his peak fourth awakened soul layer cultivation, even if he fought with these two successors, his chances of winning were very high. Roar! Wei Long gave a wild, angry roar. The rock armor covering his right arm began to crystallize. It was like a layer of black crystal that was filled with an earthy yellow profound rune glow. Landslide Fist. As the name implied, once this fist technique was used, it was like a landslide, incomparably overbearing. It was hard to imagine. If a normal awakened soul cultivator was hit by this fist, they would instantly be turned into meat paste. Nangong Yun's face slightly sunk. She never would have thought that Wei Long would be this strong. If she knew this earlier, she would have personally gone up. Even Meng Yingying, who had the diamond body, would be injured by this punch. This bastard was too ruthless, even using such a heavy hand on a little girl. Meng Yingying was not in a hurry as she activated her magic mirror source spirit. The mountain source spirit was reflected and gradually materialized. Meng Yingying suddenly felt a strong energy enter her body. The nature of her spirit energy suddenly changed, becoming thick and firm. "Watch me!" Meng Yingying gave a delicate shout and a layer of rock quickly appeared on the surface of her body. Duplicating a source spirit? Shen Fengho, the Golden Arrow Marquis, and the Western Marquis were all stunned. This girl that no one cared about actually had this kind of rare innate talent. No, it's not just the right arm. The martial art is also duplicated. When Meng Yingying raised her right hand, a layer of crystal-like substance appeared on her slender white wrist. When this fist was sent out, it was also like a landslide. Landslide fist. How could she know the landslide fist? This was the Wei family's secret technique. Wei Long's face turned dark and terrifying. So what if she learned it? It was just an empty form, go die. Whether it was the size, strength, momentum, or speed of the two fists, they were all completely out of proportion, but they still collided with each other. Meng Yingying's starlight immortal body was not weak and she had duplicated most of Wei Long's mountain source spirit. The moment the two fists collided, the rock armor formed by Meng Yingying's mountain source spirit began to shatter from her right hand. When the black rock shattered, a diamond-like luster appeared on her skin, perfectly blocking the power of the landslide. Double defense. She was using double defense at the same time. Wei Long's power was reflected back and Meng Yingying's power also fell onto his body. The thick rock on his body shattered and the bones in his right hand released a series of popping sounds. He spat out a mouthful of blood into the sky and crashed through a wall of the Marquis Palace, falling onto the street outside and fainting. How is this possible? Everyone had expressions like they had seen a ghost. Chu Tian was shocked. How could this be? Even if the starlight immortal body could reflect a certain amount of damage, it shouldn't be this strong. The little fox bared its teeth, looking like it had already expected this. Meng Yingying looked at her fist in a daze and stupidly said, "God, my fist is this strong." She suddenly thought of something and took out an old bronze mirror from her chest. The light on the surface of the mirror dimmed, as if some kind of power had been used. "I know, this mirror has been used." Meng Yingying excitedly raised the little mirror. "This mirror can increase the power of reflection. Thank you, little fox, for giving me such a good gift." The little fox pouted and pretended to wave its hand, indicating it was nothing. No one thought it would be this kind of result. Chu Tian took out Meng Yingying. He didn't expect Meng Yingying to win against Wei Long. The best result would be a draw with Wei Long, with no one being able to do anything to the other. Who would have thought that Meng Yingying would almost cripple Wei Long with a single punch? This kind of shocking result was something no one could have expected. Especially the fellows from Southern State, they all had livid expressions. Wei Long was the third-ranked genius of Southern State. Not only was this little girl at the peak of triple awakened soul, she didn't even have a bit of fame, she was just a nameless person. A famous genius of Southern State had been crippled by a nameless girl from Central State. Where would the face of the Southern State people go? Chapter 215. The Shangguan father and son had gloomy faces. The respected Wei Long had lost to a silly little girl. This was a giant insult to the Southern State geniuses. If this news reached Thunder State, where would the two of them have any face left? "Can I go now?" Meng Yingying anxiously scratched her head. "I still have to give out Ken food." "There's nothing else for you to do." Chu Tian nodded. "Go." Wei Long losing was an accident. When Meng Yingying duplicated abilities and martial arts, her spirit energy was consumed very quickly. If Wei Long had fought steadily, Meng Yingying would not have had a chance of winning. Who would have thought that Wei Long would be too fierce, directly using his strongest attack to kill Meng Yingying? As a result, he ended up harming himself. The strongest bullet hit him, and with the impact of Meng Yingying's power, Wei Long's solid defense collapsed in an instant. He was seriously injured on the spot, and he might not be able to recover in a short time. The Golden Arrow Marquis Jiang Xiong gave a few loud laughs. "Powerful! Powerful! Shen Fengho has opened this Jiang's eyes." Shen Fengho also felt his face light up. It's just that his luck was good. Wei Long was a famous genius, but he had lost to the common Meng Yingying. This was enough to shock everyone. The Golden Arrow Marquis successor Jiang Shan also applauded. Central State is truly a land of heroes. Even if 3 of the 4 young masters aren't here, this lineup cannot be underestimated. Lien Pejuan and Lin Chang'e nodded. Actually, they had already discovered a strange phenomenon. Although Chu Tian's cultivation base was not high, whether it was the 5th awakened soul layer Yun Yao, the fiery Nangong Yun, or even Shinfengho's only daughter Feng Kaidai, they all treated him as the center. The Central State group was led by Yun Yao on the surface, but the real leader was this Chu Tian. This person definitely had something special about him. I don't accept this. Wu Yang stood out under Shangguan Feichen's signal. Wei Long was just too careless and did not use his strongest strength. How could the Southern State geniuses be inferior to Central State? I, Wu Yang, shall clear the name of Southern Province. Wu Yang unsheathed a saber and pointed it at Chu Tian. If you're a man, then don't cower. Fight me fair and square. Shen Fengho was a little displeased. Is the Western Marquis determined to pester us to the end? The Western Marquis revealed a helpless look. Actually, Southern State encourages competition, so I never interfere with the matters of young people. I'll let them decide for themselves. The Golden Arrow Marquis also knit his brows. The Western Marquis was deliberately targeting this young man. Although he did not know what kind of grudge they had, this was not the kind of attitude a noble should have. But the Golden Arrow Marquis did not want to offend the Western Marquis at this time. The trouble in Thunder State needed the Western Marquis help, and these youths were here to gain experience, so they wouldn't be of much use. If they were injured, then they were injured. All right. Chu Tian pulled out the Netherworld sword and walked out. The blue and white flames lingered on the blade. I'll accept the challenge. Shen Fengho sighed when he saw this. He was not worried that Chu Tian would be injured, but rather he was afraid that this grudge would become even deeper. Listen well. My ancestral heaven flame saber art uses spirit flames to cultivate. It is famous throughout Southern State and its might is boundless. Wu Yang revealed a fierce look and his saber began to release red flames. My saber is infused with earth spirit flames and can instantly melt steel. Even Wei Long's defenses cannot block it. Because its might is too strong, it will be hard for me to show mercy. If I'm not careful and cripple you or even kill you, don't blame me. Chu Tian had a calm expression. Then let's see if your saber is stronger or if the sword in my hand is sharper. If your earth spirit flame is hotter or my netherworld flame is sharper. Arrogant and ignorant, then die. Wu Yang's flames were completely condensed and he released his source spirit. His might instantly increased as he released his strongest move, Heaven Burning Dance. The saber seemed to summon the flames of hell as it contained a heaven-destroying might. Good move. Chu Tian's netherworld flame was also condensed to its limit. His entire body entered the netherworld and turned into a dazzling burning sword glow, netherworld raging flame slash. Ding. The 2 burning weapons clashed and the walls of the Marquis Palace's main hall were shattered. The saber chi and sword chi collided, fiercely shooting out. The 2 completely different kinds of strength seemed to cancel each other out. Wu Yang was shocked. This fellow could block his full strength slash? Chu Tian was also a little surprised. Even Luo Xianglong couldn't block this slash. Wu Yang's strength was much stronger than he imagined. The 2 of them seemed to be evenly matched, but Wu Yang was actually a level higher. This was because when the saber and sword collided, a portion of the flames had landed on Chu Tian's body. If he didn't have the Starlight Immortal body, Chu Tian would have already been defeated. This saber art was not inferior to the Raging Flame slash. Wu Yang's weapon was also a top-grade soul weapon. Chu Tian's golden source spirit was stronger, but Wu Yang's cultivation base was much, much higher. Haha, this slash counts as a draw. Wu Yang's saber lit up again. But how will you block my second slash? Wu Yang was very clear on his superiority. His cultivation base was suppressed. A 4th awakened soul layer cultivator compared to a triple awakened soul cultivator. Not only was their spirit energy thicker, their spirit energy output was also faster. So Wu Yang was able to use the heaven burning dance in a short period of time, but Chu Tian didn't have time to condense another sword art. Who would have thought that when Wu Yang condensed half of it, a pearl on Chu Tian's waist would release a glow. A large amount of netherworld flame would be released and absorbed by the long sword. What? Wu Yang's eyes were filled with fear as Chu Tian's sword stabbed forward. Wait, I admit defeat. Too late. The burning sword glow directly broke through the long saber. That sharp sword directly pierced through Wu Yang's protective spirit energy, and countless poisonous netherworld flames instantly drilled into his body. Wu Yang gave a pitiful cry before fainting. He lost again? And he lost in such a clean manner. 2 peak 4th awakened soul layer geniuses actually couldn't beat 2 peak triple awakened soul cultivators? Shangguan Feichen used his spirit energy to stabilize Wu Yang's injuries. After a simple inspection, he flew into a rage as he said, Wu Yang's meridians and viscera have been severely injured. I'm afraid only a high-grade sacred medicine can heal him. Damn. Shangguan Hong's face was filled with anger as he glared at Chu Tian with murderous intent. It was just a competition. Wu Yang clearly admitted defeat in the end, so why did you have to use such a vicious method to ruin his future? How could a vicious person like you appear in the central state? If I didn't show mercy, this waste would already be a dead man. Chu Tian sheathed his sword. Next time you want to cause trouble for someone, you should think about it first. Don't slap yourself in the face. It had been many years since someone dared to provoke the Western Marquis. The Western Marquis was still one of the 8 marquises of the southern summer country. The Golden Arrow Marquis looked at Chu Tian in a new light. The current youths found it hard to resist their pressure, but this youth named Chu Tian was calm in front of the Western Marquis and even dared to provoke him. He did have a bit of courage. You're going too far. Shangguan Feichen angrily stood up. I'll compete with you. Shangguan Feichen was the Western Marquis' successor and had the hope of inheriting the Marquis title in the future. The resources invested on this person were not something an elder like Shangguan Ming could compare to. So Shangguan Feichen's strength was far stronger than Shangguan Ming's. Even if he was on par with the shocking Chu Xinghe, he would still be on par. Shen Fenghe was afraid that Chu Tian would do something crazy. Chu Tian had used his full strength against Wu Yang, so it was impossible for him to fight against Shangguan Feichen. It would be better if Chu Xinghe came instead. Enough. Shen Fenghe was already filled with a trace of anger. Does the Western Marquis really want to go too far? How about you and I compete? Shen Fenghe was truly angry. With Shangguan Hong's family background, he was not afraid of Shen Fenghe, but for a small Chu Tian, there was no need to become enemies with Shen Fenghe, who was also one of the 8 marquises. Brother Feng's words are too serious. Shangguan Hong pretended to reprimand him. Feichen, you are still a successor, so how could you lower your status to challenge a lowly wild cultivator? Wei Long and Wu Yang's skills are not as good, so they've lost. Let's end this competition here. Shangguan Feichen gave a cold snort. The Golden Arrow Marquis shook his head with a bitter smile. Everyone came to save Thunder State, so why did it become like this? Jiang Shan, entertain the geniuses of the 2 states. I want to discuss the strategy to eliminate this disaster with the 2 marquises. Jiang Shan brought the 2 Thunder State geniuses over. Thunder State is famous for its wine, so I'll treat everyone to a drink. Forget it. Shangguan Feichen was filled with rage, so how could he work together with Chu Tian? Wei Long and Wu Yang are heavily injured and I need to heal them, so I won't be accompanying you. After saying this, he left without looking back. Nan Gongyun disdainfully said, petty and narrow-minded, he really isn't a man. Jiang Shan did not want any more trouble, so he immediately left with them. Jiang Shan's group of 3 and Chu Tian's group of 4 found a tavern to enter. Brother Chu's strength is truly impressive. The Golden Arrow Marquis successor Jiang Shan sat down and immediately began to laugh. To be honest, I don't like the Shangguan family either. Isn't it just because they have an illustrious background? Ever since they came to Thunder State, they've been pointing fingers at us, acting high and mighty. Now they've taught us a lesson, ha ha ha. I never thought that Brother Chu would be able to defeat Wu Yang. Lien Pejuan had a face full of stubble. Although he was only 26 or 27 years old, he looked like he was in his 30s. If I fought him, I would only have a 50% chance of winning. My cultivation has already reached the peak 4th awakened soul layer, but Brother Chu is still in the void soul realm. This is truly incredible. Lin Chang'e gave an emotional sigh. The Chu family has produced a Chu Xinghe and a Chu Tian. Both of them have the qualifications to become marquises. Central State is not simple. Central State's Chu family is not simple. Nangong Yun quickly corrected him. Chu Xinghe is Chu Xinghe and Chu Tian is Chu Tian. They are not related at all. Moreover, although Chu Tian is also surnamed Chu, he is not related to the Central State Chu family at all. Jiang Shan, Lian Pejuan, and Lin Chang'e were all stunned. Chu Tian's potential was so strong, but he was not from the Central State Chu family. Feng Kaidai gave a simple description of the matter. Speaking of which, Chu Xinghe, Luo Xianglong, and Yi Tianlang could not participate in this mission because of Chu Tian. Lian Pejuan directly cursed, "You crippled the three of them?" Lin Chang'e was also stunned for a while before giving a thumbs up and saying, "Strong. You're too strong." No wonder Shen Fengho values Brother Chu so much. I really look forward to the day when I can go to the northern battlefield with Brother Chu and show off my skills against the spirit beasts. While Jiang Shan was speaking, he boldly picked up a jar of wine. Jiang Shan, admire heroes the most. Meeting everyone from Central State today can be considered fate, so let's make friends. No need to be polite, drink as much as you want. Actually, the Golden Arrow Marquis was considered a person of Southern Xia's generation. Although he was born in a small family, he had great talent. With a lucky chance, he had obtained an ancient archery inheritance. He had spent half his life in the military and had many military achievements, finally being bestowed the title of Golden Arrow Marquis. He still held the kingdom's military command and Thunder State was his military camp. Although the Golden Arrow Marquis was no longer on the battlefield, a third of the soldiers fighting the spirit beasts were trained in Thunder State. The Golden Arrow Marquis could not compare to the Southern Summer War God, the calm martial ruler, but he was very proficient in training. The Golden Arrow Marquis had a special method to train the army, and the soldiers he trained were all elites of Southern Xia. The people of Thunder State were proud of joining the army, so they developed a heroic style. Jiang Shan, Lian Pejuan, and Lin Chang'e all held positions in the army. They lived and ate with the soldiers, so they had a high reputation in Thunder State. Although Jiang Shan was a noble successor, he did not have the arrogance of a normal noble. Lian Pejuan and Lin Chang'e, although they were old nobles, they did not have a domineering personality. These people were worth making friends with. "You're all here." When they were about done drinking, Meng Yingying ran over while gasping for breath. Behind her was Lin Mu and Fong Han who were in charge of helping her. "We've given 100 boxes of canned food to the soldiers of the 3 states and everyone has been stirred up, receiving a very warm welcome. There's still a bit left, so I'll leave it for you to eat." Jiang Shan was very curious. What are canned food? Central State Miracle Commerce has invented a kind of easy-to-store food. Feng Kaidai gave each of them a can of food. "I'll also tell you that Brother Chu is the chairman of Miracle Commerce. If you think it's good, you can ask him." Miracle Commerce? This was the first time Lian Pejuan had heard of it. Little Brother Chu's company? This is quite new. Brother Chu is already doing business at such a young age. Chu Tian helplessly said, "I'm not like you guys who were born in a large family and have the support of a family. Cultivating costs this much money, so I have to do some business." While speaking, the 3 of them opened the cans. "It's demon beast meat," Meng Yingying confidently said. "Quickly have a taste, the taste isn't bad." The 3 of them doubtfully took a bite. They had never eaten source energy cooked food before, so how could they imagine that demon beast meat could be this delicious? This is too incredible. When did demon beast meat become this delicious? Lian Pejuan and Lin Chang'e revealed looks of disbelief. Jiang Shan excitedly asked, "How long can this be stored for?" Meng Yingying gave a shy smile. With Miracle Commerce's current technology, it can be stored for a year in a normal environment. What? A year? This was canned meat. A can of meat that could be stored for an entire year. Jiang Shan suddenly realized how important canned meat was to the army. A cultivator's body needed a large amount of energy and they needed a large amount of normal food. A normal awakened soul cultivator could eat an entire roasted lamb in one meal. So during the march, they needed a large amount of rations, so they had to bring some demon beast meat. Demon beast meat was very strong and it was hard to cut with a knife. Not only did it taste bad, it couldn't be eaten too much or there would be problems. But this canned meat was different. An elite soldier could bring a canned meat, which was enough for a day. Body refinement cultivators ate level 1 canned meat and awakened soul cultivators ate level 2 canned meat. Different cultivators and different levels of demon beasts were very beneficial to the army. This thing is too good. Jiang Shan was full of praise. Brother Chu, I'll represent my father to discuss with you. How many canned meat can you supply each year? Chu Tian revealed a faint smile. You'll have to ask Yingying about this. Miracle Commerce already has 2 canned meat factories in operation and will open 10 more in the near future. With enough materials, each factory can produce 20 to 30,000 high-quality canned meat every day. The production of canned meat wasn't bad. Jiang Shan's eyes lit up and he was very excited. From the popularity of the canned meat, our canned meat is in short supply. Meng Yingying thought about it. Every month we can supply Thunder State with at most 300,000 canned meat because there are high and low-level demon beasts. If it's canned meat for the army, the quality must be very high, so it should be around 10-15 million gold coins. This canned meat was not cheap. After all, there was a risk in trading across continents. 300,000 is too little. Jiang Shan said without even thinking, how about 40 million gold coins for 600,000 canned meat a month? This price was already very good. When he saw Meng Yingying hesitate, Jiang Shan quickly said, the Jiang family has no intention of stockpiling canned meat. These canned meat will be sent to the northern front lines, so it can be considered a contribution to the kingdom. We will not sell it on the market, so Miracle Commerce can still trade with Thunder State's merchants. Of course, the kingdom would also have to pay. It would be very troublesome for Central State to send the canned meat to the front lines, but Thunder State had a natural geographical advantage. Selling these canned meat, earning 10-20 million a month wasn't much. The kingdom wouldn't care about this bit of money. After all, the canned meat could increase the battle strength of the army. All right, Meng Yingying made her decision. 600,000 it is. Meng Yingying had just arrived in Thunder State when she received a large order. Thunder State's Jiang family's order would bring Miracle Commerce 20-30 million a month in profit. Chapter 216. In the morning of the next day, the Thunder State army gathered. Thunder State City sent out 40,000 soldiers to attack the polluted villages. Their main mission was to stabilize the area and stall the large amount of demonic creatures. The 3 marquises led the most elite storm cavalry with a day's worth of rations. They set off from the camp like a sharp knife, stabbing into the center of the disaster area. Finish this battle quickly. Destroy the demon stone in one fell swoop. Countless Thunder State citizens came out to send them off. This was a once-in-a-100-year disaster and it had brought a large loss to Thunder State. The people of Thunder State placed all their hopes on the 3 marquises, hoping that the strength of the 3 marquises would be enough to quell this disaster and bring peace back to Thunder State. The Golden Arrow Marquis said in a comforting voice, "Everyone, don't worry. With the support of Central State and Southern State, we will destroy the Demon Stone and return our Thunder State to its former glory." Long live! Long live! Countless citizens cheered. Many people began to cry out on the spot. This disaster did not just bring a loss of wealth, it also made countless people homeless and made countless people lose their families. Now they did not need to be afraid. The Southern Summer 8 Marquises were the peak experts of Southern Xia. They were as strong as gods in the eyes of normal people. Now that 3 of the 8 Marquises had come out, what problem couldn't they solve? This is strange. Shin Fengho rode on the storm horse and looked left and right. He asked Chu Tian beside him in a curious voice, "Where did Shin Bingyu go?" Shin Fengho had not seen Shin Bingyu since yesterday. Chu Tian revealed a mysterious smile. "I had her make some preparations in advance. just in case something unexpected happens? Shen Fengho helplessly nodded. Chen Bingyu had a bit of friendship with him, and Shen Fengho was very clear on this woman's personality. Even Shen Fengho could not order her around, but who would have thought that Chen Bingyu would obediently follow Chu Tian's orders? It really was one thing against another. But speaking of this, what was this brat planning? Everyone, please return to the city and wait for the victory. Everyone move out. The Golden Arrow Marquis loudly shouted. With the bugle calls, the three armies set off. Southern Xia's most elite cavalry unit was the Storm Knights. Thunder Continent sent out 2,000, Central Continent sent out 1,500, and Southern Continent sent out 1,500. 5,000 cavalrymen marched majestically toward the core of the disaster area. The entire world was gloomy, as if it was enveloped by an evil and powerful aura. As the group approached the center of the disaster area, the withering of the plants became more and more severe. Planar cracks were very short-lived, because once a crack was formed, it would be automatically repaired by the space-time laws. Therefore, to the Abyss demons, the opportunity to invade the plane was something that could only be encountered by chance. However, if the demons of the Abyss world succeeded in breaking into the plane before the crack was completely repaired, they would break the spatial barrier and bring the power of the Abyss world to the Earth. The more powerful the invading demon, the worse the effects would be. Now that a large area of land had been contaminated by the aura of the Abyss, it meant that the invading evil demons were extremely powerful. So, when the demons invaded Thunder State, large amounts of citizens died and a portion of the cultivators were turned into Abyss demon soldiers. This land that was contaminated by the aura of the Abyss would affect the plants and animals for a long time. Humans who lived here for a long time would gradually gain special abilities, but they would have to pay a price. If it was light, they would become violent and bloodthirsty, but if it was heavy, they would become abnormal. After 3 hours, the 5,000 cavalrymen lined up on the hill. The flags fluttered and the atmosphere was solemn. This was the deathly silence before the battle. Everyone look! The Golden Arrow Marquis held the reins in one hand and the Golden Bow in the other. In front of us is White Jade City that was directly affected. The Heaven Demon Stone fell in the center of White Jade City and there are no survivors in the city. 80% of the normal people died and around 20% of the cultivators were turned into monsters. A ruined black city stood in the plains in front of them. There was a giant hole in the center of White Jade City that looked like it was formed by a meteorite. But what was strange was that there was a green flame coming from the hole. Everyone could clearly feel that there was a strong consciousness and energy in the center of the giant meteorite that was beating in a certain rhythm. It was very strong. It was like a volcano. It could explode at any moment. The storm horses were affected by the aura and became restless. This kind of ability was very strong and the trained demon beast mounts could barely resist it. If a normal cavalry came here, they would have been thrown into chaos before the battle even began. There are demonic creatures all around here and the density is higher than we imagined. Shen Fengho looked around and found that there were large groups of Abyss demon soldiers around White Jade City. If the three of us charge in, we'll run out of spirit energy. The Golden Arrow Marquis nodded. We need to delay the demonic creatures and the three of us can take this chance to kill the demons. It was not hard for the three Marquises to charge in. The problem was that they would be surrounded. What would they do? Even if the three Marquises were strong, they would quickly run out of spirit energy. If a cultivator lost their spirit energy, they would not have any battle strength. I suggest we split into 3 groups. The Western Marquis gave a suggestion. 1,000 cavalry on the left, 1,000 cavalry on the right, and 3,000 cavalry on the center. We'll surround White Jade City in 2 groups, clearing out the threats on the outside and attracting the attention of the demonic creatures, drawing away most of the demon soldiers in the city. We'll take the center group to the meteorite in the center and destroy the demon stones, releasing the evil energy. I think it's feasible. The Golden Arrow Marquis said, we can't kill the demonic creatures, so the best way is to use the cavalry's mobility and White Jade City's terrain to restrict them, giving us a chance to kill them in one strike. Shen Fengho did not have any objections. The strategy has been decided, let's prepare to move. The Golden Arrow Marquis Jiang Xiong announced, "Killing the demonic creatures today is the same as killing enemies on the battlefield. The one with the most merit will be rewarded by the calm martial ruler. Perform well and don't miss this chance." "Fei-chan," the Western Marquis suddenly called out, "there is only one person left from the Southern State Trio. You and the Central State Geniuses will be responsible for the left." Letting Shangguan Fei-chan be responsible for the left, wasn't this just giving trouble to Chu Tian? Of course, this was also to take away this chance from Chu Tian's group. The calm martial ruler had prepared a very rich reward for this experience. The Golden Arrow Marquis successor's Jiang Shan was not weak and he had a high prestige in the army. Shangguan Fei-chan had to avoid Jiang Shan to have a chance to obtain merit. Shen Fengho gave a suggestion: the two successors can switch positions, making it easier for the troops to move around. Humph, could it be that Fei-chan can't move around like an arm? What kind of logic is this? The Western Marquis, Shangguan Hong, did not plan on giving Shen Fengho face. The Golden Arrow Marquis successor, Lien Pejuan, and Lin Chang'e have been partners for a long time, so they already have a tacit understanding. If we split them up now, wouldn't it decrease our battle strength? Central State is surrounded by no danger and the youths have never been on the battlefield before. Even if Fei-chan isn't mature enough, he has fought with the southern barbarians for many years and has experience breaking through enemies. Although he doesn't have the ability to lead an army, he is more than enough to lead a team. Shangguan Hong said this and then looked over Chu Tian's group with an arrogant gaze. Of course, this is on the premise that no one is hindering us. Shangguan Hong was not without reason. Shen Fengho did not think this way. The Shangguan family had provoked them twice yesterday, but they had been defeated and two geniuses had been heavily injured. These two geniuses were Shangguan Fei-chan's left and right arms, so how could Shangguan Fei-chan swallow this? He would most likely cause trouble for Chu Tian on the battlefield. In front of the enemy, there's no need to care about personal grudges. Shen Fengho did not say anything, but Chu Tian took the initiative to agree, then let the Shangguan successor lead the troops. Chu Tun was not afraid of numbers. If Shangguan Fei-chan really dared to cause trouble, Chu Tian would have Nangong Yun cripple him. He didn't know how strong Shangguan Fei-chan was, but Nangong Yun's battle strength did not lose to a fifth awakened soul layer cultivator. Feng Kaidai was only a bit weaker than Nangong Yun and there was also Yun Yao with the Thunder Spirit bead. The most important thing was, the super bodyguard Qin Bingyu would protect them in secret. If this Shangguan Fei-chan was honest, perhaps everyone would be safe. Otherwise, the unlucky one would be him. After Shen Fengho understood this, he did not say anything else. Everyone was divided into three groups. The left group was led by Shangguan Fei-chan, the right group was led by Jiang Shan, and the 3,000 elites led by the three marquises were in the middle. Before Chu Tian left, he said to Shen Fengho, "The Abyss Demon's strength is a bit stronger than expected. If the Marquis has no way to deal with it, then we'll think of a way to lure it out of the city and then quickly retreat." Shen Fengho was stunned. "What do you mean? You think we can't deal with it?" From the current situation. Chu Tian knit his brows as he looked at the giant hole. "It's hard to say. The three marquises couldn't deal with a trivial abyss demon? If the three marquises couldn't deal with it, then what use could Chu Tian do?" Chu Tian solemnly said to Shen Fengho, "I ask the Marquis to remember what I said. If we can't deal with it, we'll lure it to the east." Everyone prepare to charge. Shangguan Fei-chan charged at the front while the others all rode their storm horses. Over 1,000 blue horses were like a furious wave, wildly charging down the hill. "Everyone charge with me." Jiang Shan led a group of cavalrymen and charged towards the right side of White Jade City from the hillside. Two groups of cavalrymen that were brimming with explosive power rushed down from the withered yellow and dusky ground and immediately fought with the wandering monsters outside White Jade City. There were thousands of Abyss Demon soldiers roaming the plains outside the city. The Abyss Demon soldiers were once demonized citizens of the city. At this moment, they were all black like they were being roasted. Their eyes were sunken in and their mouths were wide open, with green flames flowing out of their orifices. They had already lost their consciousness, only having a brutal and murderous instinct. When the cavalry charged down like a flood, the ground shook. The Abyss demon soldiers gave wild beast-like roars and moved at a speed that normal people could not imagine. Looking from the sky, it was like a sea of green flames, quickly gathering from all directions, colliding with the blue cavalry. When they were around 50-80 meters apart, the green warhorses gathered their strength, and a large wave of light green wind blades, like a wave, instantly whistled towards this group of monsters. The ground was instantly cut full of holes, and countless Abyss demon soldiers were mercilessly dismembered. The blue cavalry brandished their spears as they charged forward. Horse hooves like a tide. 1,000 cavalry spear. The cavalry used the hill to increase their speed to 400 kilometers per hour. These elite cavalry were trained and did not have weak cultivation bases. Under this high-speed charge, with a single thrust of their spears, even a low-level awakened soul cultivator's protective spirit energy could be pierced through. These normal citizens that had been corroded by the Abyss energy, even if they were not inferior to the elite soldiers, they were still suppressed without any suspense. It was a frontal charge of flesh and metal. The cavalrymen roared past. The sky was covered in black demon blood, and the ground was covered in charred limbs. After a long charge, the originally densely packed Abyss demon soldiers instantly fell to the ground, and the ground was dyed black by demon blood. The elite cavalry of the southern summer country was truly sharp. This was a completely one-sided slaughter. Chapter 217. The Abyss demon soldiers were monsters formed from human cultivators being demonized by the power of the Abyss. Although the demonization process increased their battle power by several times, the strengthening was limited. In front of the elite cavalry of southern Xia, they were as weak as paper. The 1,000 cavalry directly pierced through the Abyss demon soldiers. After running for several dozen miles, they pulled away from the Abyss demon soldiers and began to slow down. Turn around. Continue charging. Shangguan Feichen waved a long brush. The tip of the brush was as sharp as a spear and it was covered in black demonic blood. The horses were also covered in a layer of black blood. The storm cavalry had just turned their horses around. Countless Abyss demon soldiers gathered in front of them. Looking from above, they looked like thousands of bloodthirsty ants, forming a flood that charged at their prey. A portion of the demon soldiers that had been demonized had appeared. The scorched black skin of these demon soldiers was even tougher and thicker, like a layer of natural keratinized armor. The joints of their elbows had mutated, and their entire forelimbs were like pitch-black sharp knives. Regardless of whether it was their speed or ferocity, they were much stronger than normal demon soldiers. Countless demon soldiers were like monkeys, swiftly and nimbly surging out of the collapsed city walls. Cruel, bloodthirsty, and hysterical madness, it made people shudder. The storm cavalry's hooves did not scare them. Instead, it made them even more ferocious. These demonized beings were not much different from the undead. They did not have any fear. Not to mention human cavalry, even if a giant dragon blocked their way, they would still charge forward without hesitation. Kill them all for me. Shangguan Feichen charged forward again. The blue stream slammed into the black tide and flesh and metal clashed again. The Azure Gale Colts released a wave of wind blades that destroyed the strongest demon soldiers at the front, greatly reducing their momentum. Following that, the elite cavalry charged forward, once again displaying their powerful battle power. Wherever their spears passed, the demon soldiers would be torn apart one by one. Wherever the valiant Azure Gale Colt stepped, the MO soldiers were crushed into mud and buried into the ground. The second wave of slaughter was completed. Although the demon soldiers were increasing in number, the cavalry's morale was rising. Because they had killed many demon soldiers in 2 waves, the storm cavalry did not have any casualties. These guys only looked scary on the outside. They didn't have any intelligence, and they didn't have any battle tactics. They were just a bunch of mobs. Charge again. Kill again. We have to attract the attention of these monsters and last until the 3 Marquises destroy the demon stone. Shangguan Feichen led his cavalry to charge out of the encirclement using the flat terrain, once again pulling away from the demon soldiers and turning around. Everyone prepared to charge and then charged at the black mass of demon soldiers. The third round of harvesting began. This time, something unexpected happened. When everyone was halfway through killing, a unique emo soldier suddenly charged out of the countless emo soldiers. It was taller than an ordinary demonified person, and its body was very bloated. Its scorched black skin was full of cracks, and green flames surged from the cracks, blooming with a very bright light. There was a surge of power that was on the verge of bursting out of his frail skin and exploding out of his body. A cavalryman charged forward and pierced through the demon soldier with his spear, instantly sending him flying more than 10 meters away. Just as the knight skillfully shook his spear and was about to throw the impaled demon weapon away, two large hands covered in cracks suddenly gripped the spear shaft. This cavalryman had a very bad feeling. What is going on? He didn't even have time to think before his entire body was covered in a green light. The cracks on the demon soldier's body suddenly exploded. Countless green flames spilled out, instantly devouring several cavalrymen and blowing them away along with their horses. Only charred black pieces were left on the ground. Not even their corpses could be found. Everyone was shocked. There were casualties. There were demon soldiers that could self-destruct. Figures of light charged out from the city walls. They were all large and their bodies were covered in cracks, with flames flowing out of them. There were over 1,000 of them and they were all demon soldiers that could self-destruct. This is bad. How could they fight this? These demon soldiers would explode with a single touch. They were the bane of cavalrymen. Other than the self-destructing demon soldiers, there were other demon soldiers that they had never seen before. If the demon soldiers outside the city walls looked like humans, then the new demon soldiers that came out had completely turned into demons. Their skin was completely gone and their bodies were covered in green flames. They had 2 horns on their heads and their eyes revealed a cruel glow. There was a demon that threw out a flame javelin. The cavalrymen did not have a chance to block it and were hit by the flame javelin. They fell from their horses and were trampled to pieces by the horses behind them. There were even long-range attacks now. Like this, the 1,000 cavalrymen could not deal with them at all. Just the large group of self-destructing demon soldiers was enough to make them suffer. What should they do now? There are more and more enemies. We've already been surrounded. Once we lose the cavalry's advantage, we'll be in danger, so we need to think of a way to break through. Shangguan Feichin loudly shouted and then pointed at the dense group of self-destructing demon soldiers. We can't fight these fellows head-on. Chutan, I order you to lead them away. Everyone had already seen the might of the self-destructing demon flame soldiers. Early awakened soul cultivators could not withstand an explosion at all, and even an intermediate awakened soul cultivator would be killed if they were surrounded by a large group of self-destructing demon flame soldiers. In this large group of demon flame soldiers, there were at least 1,000 of them and their numbers kept increasing. Even a true soul expert like Qin Bingyu would die without a doubt if she was trapped in this group. Shangguan Feichin had actually ordered Chu Tian to lead them away. Wasn't this clearly sending Chu Tian to his death? Nan Gongyun was the first to object. Why aren't you leading them away? You clearly know that the self-destructing demon soldiers are dangerous, but you're still sending others to their deaths. Yun Yao was also very angry at Shangguan Feichin's order. What are your intentions? Shangguan Feichin angrily said, I am the cavalry's captain and orders are like mountains in the army. Since you dare disobey orders, I have the right to kill you just based on this. Fuck, you want to kill me? Nan Gongyun angrily chased after him. Since I'm going to die, I'll just beat you up first. Nan Gongyun had a gunpowder keg personality and other than Chu Tian, she would not submit to anyone else. This arrogant Western Marquis successor had provoked him several times, but Chu Tian did not bother with him. Now he was sending Chu Tian to his death? Fuck, if he could endure this, then wouldn't he be treating the Central State people as cowards? He did not even dare to say a single word. Nan Gongyun chased in front of Shangguan Feichin and the giant hammer was covered in red runes. It suddenly released a power that could melt steel as it slammed down at Shangguan Feichin. Nan Gongyun was in the illustrious soul realm and had a monstrous strength. If she really hit Shangguan Feichen, even if he did not die, he would still be knocked off his horse. He would still die without a doubt if he was surrounded by the demon soldiers. Everyone was filled with shock. Was this girl crazy? She would actually kill the Western Marquis successor in a fit of rage. How could the Western Marquis successor be a normal person? Shangguan Feichen was stronger than Shangguan Ming. He drew a few strange runes in the air with a long pen, and then the runes exploded like a spider web. It instantly turned into a shield made of runes. It was as thin as a cicada's wing, but the light it released gave people a strong feeling. The hammer directly shattered it. Shangguan Ming's expression fell. This girl has such terrifying strength. The giant burning hammer fell down and Shangguan Feichen used his pen as a spear. It was a good thing that the light shield had weakened the power of the giant shield, so it was able to block Nangong Yun's hammer. Die. The tip of the brush released several drops of inky energy. This was not ink, but rather the Shangguan family's secret technique that condensed spirit energy into liquid form. Each drop was enough to pierce through metal, and even an illustrious soul realm cultivator's protective spirit energy would be instantly torn apart. Several crisp sounds rang out. Nangong Yun's protective starlight was shattered by the drops of ink, creating many small cracks, but it did not shatter. Shangguan Feichen's expression fell. This defensive cultivation technique was... Could it be that Chu Tian and the people by Chu Tian's side had all learned this cultivation technique? Nangong Yun gave a disdainful laugh. The Western Marquis successor is only this strong. Watch my hammer. She was about to smash down with the hammer again. Shangguan Feichen was filled with rage. You really think I don't dare kill you? That... Nangong Yun, stop. Chu Tian shouted. Now was not the time to make a move. There were demon flame soldiers all around them and over 1,000 cavalry soldiers were surrounded, so how could they have time to fight? Breaking out of the encirclement is more important. Attacking the captain, this is a crime worthy of death. Shangguan Feichen's face turned pale. The only chance to redeem yourself is to draw away the self-exploding demonic blade. Shangguan Feichen had only exchanged blows with Nangong Yun for an instant, but he could feel the other side's strength. Even if he could defeat Nangong Yun, he would have to pay a large price. Damn! A trivial branch of the Nangong family actually had this kind of strength. There were more and more demon flame soldiers in front of them, and the cavalry's charge was weakening. The self-exploding demon flame soldiers were catching up, and the situation was very dangerous. Once the self-exploding demon flame soldiers got close, it would be a disaster for them. I've given such a good chance to make a contribution to Chu Tian, how could I not appreciate it? Chu Tian turned around and shouted to Nangong Yun's group of 3, come with me, we'll draw away the self-exploding demon flame soldiers. He agreed so easily. Shangguan Feichen could not have asked for more. It would be best if these fellows were surrounded by the demon flame soldiers. Chu Tian raised the netherworld sword high up. With such a great merit in front of us, it would be a waste if we don't accept it. Charge with me. Saying this, he left the group and charged at the densely packed demon flame soldiers. Nangong Yun, Feng Kaidai, and Yun Yao were stunned. He really did not want his life, but they trusted Chu Tian and followed behind Chu Tian without any hesitation. They couldn't care less. They would risk it all. They rode their horses into the middle of the self-exploding demon flame soldiers. Chapter 218. The speed of these self-destructing demon flame soldiers was extremely fast. They were not much slower than cavalry when they ran at full speed. Using self-destruct to release energy to attack made these monsters even more frightening. Even if a true soul realm expert was surrounded by them, they would still die. Chu Tian left the cavalry without any hesitation. Raising his sword and riding his horse, he charged into the midst of the self-destructing demon flame soldiers. Those ugly monsters with bloated bodies and cracked bodies were like a raging sea. They were like bloodthirsty beasts that had found their prey, angrily roaring as they surrounded the 4 of them. The expressions of Nangong Yun and the others all changed. Chu Tian raised the netherworld sword and a sword chi flew out, cutting a self-destructing soldier in half. The torn body immediately blossomed with light, and vigorous energy was about to be released, turning into a giant energy fireball that kept expanding and exploding. At this critical moment, a little white fox jumped out and sucked in the energy. The green fireball seemed to be attracted and turned into two streams that were swallowed into the little fox's stomach. The flames released by the self-destructing demon flame soldiers, other than burning themselves to ashes, did not cause any harm to them. Nangong Yun, Feng Kai Dai, and Yun Yao were suddenly enlightened. It was no wonder that Chu Tian was not afraid. The little fox could control the self-destructing demon flame soldiers. As long as the energy released by the self-destructing demon flame soldiers reached a certain density, the little fox could instantly absorb it and reduce the energy to below the point of explosion. Then the self-destruction would be natural. The demon flame soldiers burned themselves to ashes, but they could not harm Chu Tian's group at all. Little fox, good job. Nangong Yun's confidence increased. Kill all of these monsters. Yun Yao used her cultivation at the fifth awakened soul layer to control the thunder spirit bead. Lightning was released from it, hitting several demon flame soldiers with each strike. Feng Kai Dai released the wind and cloud sword song, and countless sword chi surrounded the four of them, forming a protective circle. The demon flame soldiers were fast and had strong destructive power, but their bodies were very weak. They had no defense at all and could be destroyed with a single attack. The little fox absorbed all the energy, making all the nearby demon flame soldiers lose their ability to self-destruct. The four of them passed through over 1,000 self-destructing demon flame soldiers as easily as a sharp fruit knife cutting through a watermelon. Everywhere they passed, the self-destructing demon flame soldiers fell to the ground, and large amounts of flames spewed out from their bodies, igniting their bodies and the surroundings. In an instant, a long sea of death was formed, which blocked the other types of demon flame soldiers. Continue. Chu Tian led a few people around and killed a small portion of the demon flame soldiers. At this time, Shangguan Feichen's cavalry had already disappeared from sight. There are more and more demon soldiers around us. We're about to be surrounded. Of course I know. Chu Tian could not stay here any longer. Otherwise, with the strength of the four of them, they would not be able to defend against so many demon flame soldiers. Follow me, let's kill our way out. The four of them rode towards the east of Bayou City. In truth, Chu Tian was not following Shangguan Feichen's orders. The reason why he had agreed to stall the demon flame soldiers was so that he could leave the cavalry. That way, he would have more time to prepare. The three marquises had been watching the battle from a distant hill. The 3,000 storm cavalry did not move, so they could see the situation around Bayou City. The Golden Arrow Marquis successor, Jiang Shan, moved around the right side of the city, naturally encountering large amounts of self-destructing demon flame soldiers. However, Jiang Shan had received the Golden Arrow Marquis teachings and his archery skills had reached perfection. Even on horseback, he could still kill enemies 1,000 meters away with a single arrow. Jiang Shan's source spirit was a white jade arrow. When he pulled the bowstring, spirit energy was released from his fingertips, instantly forming a white jade spirit energy arrow that shot out at a speed that was hard to see with the naked eye. With Jiang Shan continuously pulling the bowstring, the white jade arrows continued to shoot out. There was not a single arrow that missed, as they all hit their targets. When the large group of self-destructing demon flame soldiers charged out, Jiang Shan tightly gripped the horse's back and loudly shouted, "Prepare the arrow array." After that, Jiang Shan suddenly pulled out a shining golden arrow from the quiver of the warhorse. The arrow was covered with complex and esoteric runes. He had always used the power of his original spirit to make arrows, and this was the first time he used a real arrow. Meteor arrow rain. Jiang Shan pulled the bow and shot it into the sky. With a xiao sound, the golden arrow exploded in the sky like fireworks. Several hundred arrows of light fell down like a meteor shower, and quite a few of the self-destructing demon soldiers were hit, causing them to explode on the spot. Jiang Shan was leading a group of cavalry that was mostly made up of Thunder State's storm cavalry. Most of the Thunder State cavalry were equipped with bows and arrows, so another wave of arrows was released to supplement the attack. Although there were some fish that escaped the net that caused some casualties, it was still considered smooth. Shen Fengho nodded and praised. The Golden Arrow Marquis successor has the style of the Golden Arrow Marquis. The Golden Arrow Marquis laughed. This brat's innate talent is very high. If he is sent to the battlefield for a few years, I think his achievements will be far above mine. At this time, the Western Marquis knit his brows. Feichen is in trouble. The three of them looked over at the same time. Shangguan Feichen's group was surrounded by at least 10-20,000 demon flame soldiers, and their current situation was not good. However, at this time, several people suddenly left the group and charged into the large group of self-destructing demon flame soldiers. Shen Fengho was shocked. It's Chu Tian's group? What were these people doing? Did they not know that this was very dangerous? What made everyone dumbfounded was that Chu Tian's 3 mounts charged in and out of the exploding demon flame soldiers, but not a single demon flame soldier managed to explode. It was like they were being suppressed by some kind of power. The 4 of them had blocked over 1,000 dangerous demon flame soldiers. At this time, Shangguan Feichen had already led the other cavalry out of the demon flame soldiers' encirclement. The Golden Arrow Marquis gave a loud laugh. Chu Tian's group has saved the lives of the entire army and destroyed all these demon flame soldiers. This is a great merit. The Western Marquis gave an unhappy snort. Most of the demon flame soldiers have been attracted by the two sides, so it's time for us to charge into the city. It's about time. The Golden Arrow Marquis looked at the center of the city, at the burning crater. Let's make our move. The low sound of a horn to charge rang out from the hillside. The 3,000 cavalry finally moved out. This elite troop of cavalrymen neatly formed into a charging formation. Accompanied by the sound of the horn, they rushed down from the hillside and arrived in front of Bayou City in a grandiose manner. The demon flame soldiers had already been thrown into chaos by the 2 vanguards. When they realized that there was an even larger team charging in, how could they have time to resist? The cavalry led by the 3 marquises easily tore through the demon flame soldiers' barrier. The Golden Arrow Marquis pulled his bowstring and a thick spirit energy condensed into a golden arrow. It was a normal-sized spirit energy arrow, but when it was released, it quickly grew in size, creating a strong wind. Wherever it went, the demon flame soldiers would be torn to pieces. When the arrow hit the city wall, it instantly grew to a length of 7 to 8 meters. It was as thick as a person's waist. Shockingly, it was a super huge arrow. As if it was a piece of paper, it easily pierced through the dilapidated city wall of Bayou City, forcefully opening up a path that led straight into the city. The Southern Summer 8 marquises really were not ordinary people. The Golden Arrow Marquis had pierced through the city walls with a single arrow. Kill your way in. When the Golden Arrow Marquis created a hole in the city walls, the cavalry were like a flood, pouring in through this hole. Although cavalry could not display their battle strength in a city, the Azure Storm Colts were not normal horses. As long as there was a street, there was enough space for them to charge in. Scatter! The Golden Arrow Marquis waved his hand. An entire cavalry team split into several small teams that quickly filled the streets. They quickly cut through the demon flame soldiers in the city, buying more time to destroy the demon stone. The 3 marquises had to preserve their spirit energy and destroy the demon stone that contained the evil energy, so they did not make a move. They led the several hundred storm cavalry through the main street of White Jade City, charging into the center of the city like lightning. They finally saw the giant meteorite crater. Such a strong evil aura. The cavalry almost could not control their horses. There was a very evil and hot energy that was being released from the center of the crater. Even with the cultivation of the 3 marquises, they felt uncomfortable as green sparks floated around them. We've found the demon stone. The negative energy here is too strong. We can't stay here for long. Otherwise, the soldiers and horses will be in danger of being demonized. The 3 marquises flew into the air and landed on the edge of the giant crater. This giant crater was 1,000 meters wide and it was right in the center of the city. The shockwave it created had destroyed half of the city, so it could be imagined just how terrifying the demon stone was. Right now, the entire crater was covered in green flames. The flames condensed and didn't dissipate. They were like green crystals that sealed the entire crater. From the bewitching amber crystal-like flames, not only did they exude a thick evil aura, but they also released a powerful life energy. Rising and falling, inhaling and exhaling. It was like a mother giving birth to life. The demon stone slumbering in the crater was greedily and madly absorbing the life energy. The aura it exuded was constantly growing. Chu Tian's prediction was not wrong at all. The monster was becoming stronger. If they followed the calm martial ruler's original plan, they would first control the disaster area and then slowly and steadily shrink the encirclement. At that time, they would be able to reduce the casualties, but it was unknown how strong the demon would become. The earth gradually began to shake and tremble. A strong and fierce consciousness was slowly awakening from its slumber. It seems like it has already sensed our existence. Shen Fengho had never seen this kind of creature before. This is the abyss demon that Chu Tian mentioned? Abyss world. A place that could give birth to this kind of life. What kind of place was it? There's no time. Our casualties are becoming more and more serious. The storm cavalry was the most elite cavalry of southern Xia, with each state having 2,000–3,000 of them. It was not easy to train them, so it would be a pity if they were all killed here. The golden arrow Marquis roared, "Directly attack." Chapter 219. He made the first move. Shen Fengho released a hurricane into the air. With a wave of his hands, a terrifying strength was released without reservation. For blue tornadoes condensed in the air and appeared around the divine wind Marquis. With a powerful aura, it suddenly closed in on the crater. At this moment, the entire world seemed to change. Storm Source Spirit. Shen Fengho had a storm as his source spirit, so he could control the storm as he pleased. Shen Fengho raised his hand to summon a storm. In terms of attack range, momentum, and fierceness, he was the head of the 8 marquises. The only flaw was that because it was too strong, it consumed energy at a shocking speed. Shen Fengho could not fight for a long time, so no matter what kind of attack he faced, he had to use all his strength to end the battle as quickly as possible. The condensed green flames were extracted by a powerful force and were being carried into the air by the tornadoes at an extremely fast speed. There were originally 4 greenish-black tornadoes, but in the blink of an eye, they turned into 4 flaming tornadoes. The strange green abyssal flames released intense light, illuminating the dark world. Go! The 4 violent tornadoes gathered together and actually condensed into an even larger super tornado. Countless green abyssal flames were driven by the tornado and suddenly turned into an earth-shattering wave that slammed down on a large group of demon soldiers in front of it. In an instant, a giant scar was formed on the ground. Several hundred demon soldiers were disintegrated by the green abyss flames. Not even ashes could be found. The Western Marquis and the Divine Arrow Marquis were secretly shocked. Shen Fengho had lived in seclusion in Central State for many years, and it seemed like he had become stronger than before. With a casual move, he could take away a portion of the energy in the crater, so this was a good chance to destroy the demon stone. Mind's Eye open. The Golden Arrow Marquis used his mind's eye to lock onto the demon stone and shot an arrow from his golden bow. This green abyss flame was very strange, being 100 times more tyrannical than normal flames. Normal flames had a gradual process of burning things, but the green abyss flame contained a strong destructive might. When an object was surrounded by the green abyss flame, it would first be torn apart before being swallowed. For example, if a piece of steel fell into it, steel would not gradually melt from the outside to the inside. It would first be torn apart by a powerful force, crushed into powder from the inside out, and then completely incinerated in the process. When the arrow shot into the crater, it immediately began to tremble. Of course, the Golden Arrow Marquis could not be underestimated. The arrow quickly spun and a powerful energy dispersed the surroundings, creating a path through it, instantly hitting the demon stone in the crater. Kaka! Countless cracks appeared on the surface of the dark green demon stone. It's effective. The Western Marquis, Sheng Guanhong's eyes lit up when he saw this. Shoot another arrow and shatter the demon stone. When the Golden Arrow Marquis was prepared to draw his bow, the ground began to tremble. A terrifying energy fluctuation came from the center of the crater and a wave of green flames spread in all directions. Wherever the green abyssal flames spread, everything, be it stone, wood, or soil, was disintegrated and then burned to ashes. What a strong force! Shen Fengho's expression changed. Be careful. Me. The Western Marquis, Shangguan Hong, condensed his spirit energy on his long spear. The sharp tip of the spear instantly softened, as if it was covered in a layer of ink. He drew a giant arc in the air. The green abyssal flame that had erupted was pulled in by a strong force and was completely sucked into the arc, being sealed by the Western Marquis energy. The Shangguan family's secret technique? Ink prison. Shangguan Hong had drawn a barrier that could absorb energy. Not only could it absorb any energy attack, it could also compress the energy and reflect it back. This was a very powerful secret technique. At this moment, the endless green abyssal flame condensed, turning into a large ball that was covered in a layer of black ink. With the Western Marquis releasing his energy, the large ball became the size of a fist. The energy was condensed to its limit, and perhaps because the energy was too dense, the surrounding air began to distort. The Western Marquis used his spirit energy to roar, "Bounce it back for me." The black ball of energy seemed to be incomparably heavy. With his spirit energy, it did not directly fly out, only being pushed back a few meters before stopping. There was a tyrannical energy that continued to corrode the ink prison's barrier. Cracks began to appear and it released a dazzling glow. The black ball of energy slowly turned dark green. Not only did it quickly increase in size, there were many bumps on the surface, just like a large irregular tumor. What is going on? Shangguan Hong could not suppress this energy and could not help panicking. The ball of energy became larger and larger and the cracks began to increase. The clear and melodious sound of shattering was like the sound of glass cracking, but it was much sharper, and there were waves of vigorous energy fluctuations being emitted from it, causing one's heart to palpitate. This is bad. Shen Fengho loudly shouted, "Quickly retreat." Shen Fengho's hands turned into long wind whips that instantly wrapped around the Golden Arrow Marquis and the Western Marquis. A terrifying explosion rang out. The green abyssal flame that Shangguan Hong had sealed in the barrier exploded once again, creating a large hole in the ground. The surrounding rocks were turned to dust and finally turned to ashes. A dark green flame soared into the sky. Just like a giant mushroom, it suddenly bloomed in the sky above White Jade City. The three marquises were hit by the shockwave and fell into the ruins, with blood flowing from the corners of their mouths. Roar, roar, roar. An angry and wild roar came from the crater at this time. Suddenly, another huge green pillar of fire soared into the sky. This power was 10 times stronger than the previous one. It was like a pillar that supported the heavens. It instantly pierced into the low clouds, and the sky seemed to be ignited, reflecting a glossy green color. This is bad. The expressions of the three marquises fell. The demon strength was stronger than they had imagined, and it was not just a little bit stronger, it was not something they could fight against. This demon's strength far surpassed the awakened soul realm. The Southern Summer 8 marquises were only at the peak 9th awakened soul layer. If they met an existence above the awakened soul realm, only the three rulers would be able to fight against them. Not to mention the might and strength this demon displayed, it was several times stronger than the three rulers. CSI. When the oppressive aura burst forth, whether it was inside or outside the city, the horses of the cavalry were all shocked and began to wildly jump. The cavalry troops all collapsed and the entire city fell into chaos. A sharp sound came from the flame clouds in the sky. Be careful! Meteor rain. After the pillar of flames soared into the sky, countless giant rocks were thrown into the sky. After the giant rocks were touched by the green abyss flames, they wildly fell down in all directions like rain. The several dozen cavalry soldiers were charging forward. They suddenly felt the ground turn green. When the cavalry all looked up, they all revealed looks of horror. A giant burning rock with a diameter of 3 meters was falling in the middle of them. The horses had already lost control. They could not dodge at all. The ground violently trembled and a large burning hole appeared. The cavalry did not have time to escape before they were killed. Following that, a monster made of green flames stood up from the center of the hole. Its body was made of flames and there was not a trace of a corpse on it. It instantly charged at a nearby cavalry soldier, igniting the man and his horse, turning them into charcoal. Large amounts of burning rocks continued to fall in all directions. A flame demon would crawl out from every place the boulder hit. The flaming demon did not have a physical body, so it was useless against weapons. It was an elemental life form that could float in the air and change its shape, turning every part of its body into a weapon. This monster was too strong, even an illustrious soul realm human would find it hard to fight against it. Damn! We've lost control of the situation. Shen Fengho released a tornado that destroyed 3-4 flaming demons. However, when the tornado disappeared, the flames in the air that had not been extinguished gathered together again, turning into 2 flaming demons. He had only killed 1 or 2. This demon stone is still summoning demons. There are more and more of them. We have to destroy this demon stone, otherwise the consequences will be unimaginable. There were so many terrifying demons. Even the power of the 3 marquises could not destroy them. If they were to wreak havoc in Thunder State, it would truly be a calamity. Shen Fengho released 4 tornadoes that surrounded the 3 of them. All the green flaming demons that tried to approach were sucked into the tornadoes and turned into countless pieces. The Golden Arrow Marquis drew his bow, wanting to find the demon stone. Only by destroying the demon stone would they have a chance of survival. In the end, they never thought that the demon stone in the crater would already disappear. It's above our heads. The 3 marquises looked up at the same time. There was a giant dark green demon stone that had appeared above their heads. It was clear that it had been sent into the sky by the pillar of flames. This demon stone was covered in cracks, but it was covered in flames. It was incomparably dazzling, just like a green sun. It was falling down at a terrifying speed. Retreat! The 3 marquises used all their strength to retreat. The demon stone slammed into the ground, causing the entire ground to tremble. A large hole that was several dozen meters wide appeared in the ground and green flames filled the sky. The surrounding ruins were all destroyed, leaving behind a large piece of empty ground. The 3 marquises were affected by the flames. That power had caused quite a bit of damage to them. A monstrous aura burst forth from where the demon stone landed. The inside of the demon stone rumbled, and the entire dark green boulder kept changing shape. The body, a head, 2 arms, 2 legs. Finally, it stood up from the ground. When the 3 marquises looked up with ashen faces, they were completely stunned. The giant stone had turned into a complete human shape, standing in front of them. It was very tall, being over 10 meters tall. The 3 of them were like pitiful insects under its feet. A monster they had never heard of before. Was this the true appearance of an abyss demon? The demon stone turned into a stone person covered in green flames. The interior was filled with dense flames and the outer shell was made of dark green stone. Countless green flames flowed around its body, giving off a strong aura and a terrifying aura. It was something the 3 marquises had never seen before. From the burning green flame giant, a wild spiritual wave was released. Lowly and weak existences from other planes. The green flame giant waved its arms and the countless green abyss flames turned into thousands of flame blades that quickly shot out. Just a demon from another world. Don't be arrogant. The Golden Arrow Marquis shot out an arrow that instantly turned into a dense rain of arrows that fell onto the monster like a wild storm. Die. The Western Marquis Shangguanhong also drew a seal filled with an aura of destruction that fell onto the green flame giant. Seal of Death. Wind and Cloud Sword Song. Shen Fengho summoned thousands of strands of sword chi and used the sword chi to form a giant arrow that slashed at the green flame giant's head. The 3 marquises used all their strength to attack. The green flame giant's dark green stone outer shell was shattered and its giant body twisted. But very quickly, the shattered outer shell was restored and it was completely unharmed. Too strong. We are not its match at all. The hearts of the 3 marquises trembled. This monster was truly incredible. The green flame giant released a fierce spiritual wave, as if it was laughing at these overconfident existences. Although its strength was far from being restored, it was more than enough to crush these small creatures. The Western Marquis no longer had any thoughts of resisting. Let's retreat. Otherwise we're dead. The Golden Arrow Marquis had a look of unwillingness, but he did not have a better choice. We have to report this to the three rulers. We can't. Only Shen Fengho tightly clenched his fists. He thought of Chu Tian's words. This abyss demon has crossed planes and is currently in a heavily injured state. If it is given a bit more time to recover, the three rulers will not be its match. What use do we have? Staying here means death. The Western Marquis did not want to die in this place. Shen Fengho gritted his teeth. We have to at least lure it out of the city. The Golden Arrow Marquis was stunned. What do you mean? There's no time to explain. Shen Fengho shouted at the two of them. Move, we'll lure it out of the city. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.